Good morning. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. That makes me Glenn Clark. He's Griffin. Drew will be here later. It's a shame. We were hoping that meant he couldn't make it in, but apparently he's going to find a way. And that's even more convoluted. We have a busy show scheduled, and it's a whole thing. It's what it is. A lot to do on the program. Not only will Drew be here in a few minutes, we're going to meet Joey Fisher, Hagerstown native. We just had Ronnie Brown in last week. Joey is also a Shepherd alum by way of Hagerstown, and he's definitely going to hear his name called during the NFL draft. He has been a hot commodity, had a heck of a combine. We're going to talk to Joey Fisher, get to know him. He's one of those, I feel like he's become kind of America's sweetheart during the course of the draft process. So we're going to talk to him about that. Also, we're going to check in with Marc Ross, former Giants executive, find out a little bit more about Odell Beckham. He's, of course, now with the NFL Network. We'll do our weekly NFL draft segment with Lance Zierlein from NFL.com. And a little bit later on in the program, Trey Wingo is going to join us from the 33rd team. He still thinks that Odell Beckham could be a bit of a game changer for the Baltimore Ravens, so we will talk about all of that. I don't know. Whatever. We're not going to do that now. We've talked plenty of Odell Beckham. I promise we'll move on after like today. We're not just going to do 24/7 Odell Beckham.
Like
I promise that's not.
Free agent.
Stop. It's not. It's not.
10 years.
It's the biggest name. Marcus Williams is a drastically more significant free agent signing. Drastically.
I guess so was Earl Thomas. And
I mean, yeah, at the time it still felt that way. Marcus Williams was in the prime of his career and was a player very much worth signing. Odell Beckham, we have no idea. You just know his cachet is what you're reacting to.
I remember I got an Earl Thomas jersey right away.
Well, that is a questionable decision on your part. I don't know what you were
This
thinking.
jersey was not a questionable decision. Baby.
Well, we'll see. Ryan Mountcastle obviously had a huge night last night. We will talk about that in a second. So I do mean that. I know we've done a lot of Odell Beckham the first couple days of the week. After today, as warranted, right? Like, as warranted. If, somebody who really knows Odell Beckham well, if we can track down Odell Beckham. Used to be, man. There was a time where literally everybody that signed, we had him on the next day. We were killing it. Those days appear to be gone. It's what it is. We can't even track down Nelson Aguilar for some reason. Don't know. It's them. It's not us. Whatever. It's not like we're not trying. I promise. Just those days have come and gone. Quickly, there's not a whole lot for me to say today, Lamar-O-Meter wise. I'm just kind of recalibrating. That's all this is. Lamar-O-Meter brought to you by Glory Days Grill. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports. I thought Cordell went a little too far yesterday, so I'm just coming back a little ways. I was going to be at 92, so I'm just going to 92. That's where it's going to be.
All right.
Make sure you say that when you post it. It's just really me recalibrating. There was nothing of significance, obviously. I'm still, I'm still very confident that the Odell Beckham stuff and what the fallout from it means that Lamar Jackson will be the Ravens quarterback in 2023. I just thought we got to leave a little bit more breathing room there for things that are unforeseen at the moment. I think Albert Breer wrote about it earlier in the week for SI.
Oh, you wrote about the meter?
No, not the meter. He just wrote about the, hey, as much as it feels like we know about the Lamar Jackson situation, never forget that at every turn in this process, we don't actually know as much as we think we do. So, yes, everything right now appears to shape up for Lamar Jackson to be the Ravens quarterback in 2023. That's why the meter's at 92%. But all that other stuff that I have referred to this week is still real, and I'm going to continue to lay it out there, and it's why I'm going to continue to give just a little bit of breathing room at the other end for their need to land the plane. But what is Lamar going to play for this season? What's the number that gets him to play? The Ravens have to get that taken care of. Do they go back to the table for long-term negotiations, and does Lamar get frustrated about that at some point? All of these things still have to be on the table, and so I still have to have a bit of breathing room there, and I thought Cordell just went slightly too far yesterday. So I'm just recalibrating. That's all this is. Nothing actually happened. Nothing actually occurred in the last 24 hours. No news. And I do worry that we might be getting to a point where the news really starts to slow down and there's less room for movement on the Lamar-O-Meter. But right now, 92% is where I have it today. Lamar-O-Meter brought to you by Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports. A couple of things that I wanted to cover today. Number one, you know what? Actually, I'll address this first, only because I don't have as much Raven stuff to deal with today. I want to get into last night's game. I want to get into some reaction from yesterday. I did have somebody, Dan messaged me and said, dude, did you see the video that Bobby Trossett did about your Ken Francis interview? What do you think of it? I have to be honest with you, Dan. I did not get the chance to watch the whole video. I love Bobby. You know, I've known Bobby for forever. I'm trying to say this, and Bobby mostly does videos about stuff that I already know. Like he's not doing, and I don't want to say that. I think what he's doing, it's clearly he's getting all the views in the world. He's creating content that clearly is what people want. It's a condensed version of what's going on. In a way, I'm envious of that, right? Like, his views are through the roof. It's just not for me. I'm not that guy. I've told him that before. Like, I'm an old school. I want conversation. I want back and forth. I want shtick. I want bits. That's what I'm into. That's the content that I like. So I did see that Bobby, because he tagged Glenn Clark Radio, although no, that's not a real Facebook page. If any of you think, Ashley Bischoff started that page like 8 years ago for Glenn Clark Radio. I don't know that it's been updated since. So if you're tagging the Glenn Clark Radio Facebook page, I will see it because I get a notification on Facebook, but it is for no purpose because that's not a real page. So I saw that Bobby. The only thing that I saw was that he is skeptical about Ken Francis's claim that he was calling teams to pitch them on the gym, the entire gym.
Make sure you get the name right.
And instead of pitching them on Lamar Jackson. And the only thing I could say back to that is, do you really think it's more likely? And I'm asking you this. Because if what you're saying is I'm skeptical that smells fishy to me, that's what Ken Francis was doing, was cold calling NFL teams and pitching them this gym. But somehow you think it's more likely that he was cold calling NFL teams and pretending to be Lamar Jackson's agent? Like, you've got to figure out which one of those two is more. To say, I'm skeptical about that. Fine, I hear you. But instead it requires you to believe that he was, without having any association with any of these people, cold calling teams to try to negotiate a contract for Lamar Jackson. You got to choose which one you think is more likely. Now, I think it's all kind of absurd, but in my mind, I do believe it's more likely to be the scenario that we talked about during the interview. And if there's a bias in the interview, it's not towards Ken Francis. It's towards the fact that always came off like the most likely scenario to me. Whatever you think of the gym, whatever the product, he thinks highly of it. He has connected with legitimate football players, as we learned, not just Lamar Jackson, but also Isaac Bruce. It would seem likely that he would leverage those connections to try to network a little bit more, to try to get in touch with other people that are involved in football. If Lamar Jackson is going to be my business partner, do you think at that point I'm going to be like, well, I tell you what I'm not going to do is try to figure out if Lamar Jackson knows anyone else that I can pitch this product to. I'll just continue to do work on my own without the man who's literally my business partner. So whatever your opinion of the product is, and I'll have to admit, this is not my area of expertise. Kadri said it might have some value in some way. I don't know. Whatever your opinion is of it, it will always, eternally, make more sense to me that he was calling teams to talk about the entire gym. You might not think much of it. Than it was that he was calling teams to try to pretend to be Lamar Jackson's agent. Now, is there gray area in there? Is there room where he gets on the phone with somebody and he's like, yeah, I'm working with Lamar Jackson. And that person says, wait, in what capacity? He's like, well, we're partners. And then all of a sudden things get a little hairy. Nothing about that conversation at all convinced me that he believes he's Lamar Jackson's agent.
Should we do like a mock phone call, you think?
No, I don't. I
so
mean,
that people can understand.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe.
I want to be Ken Francis.
Oh, you want to be Ken Francis? I don't know. I don't want to make I'm not really trying to pile on the guy. But
so people understand.
I don't know how we've convinced ourselves that the other scenario is more likely. And your answer might be, well, because the NFLPA and the NFL put out a statement about him. But they didn't there were very few specifics in that statement. Just kind of named him. So whatever you want to believe whatever you want to believe, man. I don't care. I don't work with Ken Francis. I don't give a rat's ass what your opinion of Ken Francis is. I don't think it's likely we'll ever have him on this show again. I don't know what it would be to talk about. I mean, I guess if the entire gym really starts blowing up, it's the hit of the summer. Yeah. Maybe
he'll owe us since we, gave him
his first pitch, interview. Yeah, correct. The first public opportunity to talk it up. I don't know. Maybe. I don't really have any feelings at all towards Ken Francis. I don't feel I need to protect him. I've just always thought the more likely scenario is that this was always about the product and his business partnership and not actually that this dude, who's wildly unqualified, was believing himself to be Lamar Jackson's agent. And you can believe whatever you want to believe. I don't know that it impacts anything. I don't know that it matters. That's just sort of that's my only response. Now, I got a ton of response. The Orioles win last night. Ryan Mountcastle hits a grand slam. It's fun. We'll get back to that during Would You Rather Wednesday. What? What do you want me to? He did 9 RBI.
Big deal.
Is it? They played the Athletics. Have you heard of them? I mean, the bigger story.
Yeah, I have heard of them.
Yeah, great. The bigger story, unfortunately, is that Grayson Rodriguez was meh. Like, that's a way bigger story than
6
even
strikeouts. I mean.
Yeah, but
he didn't finish at bats. Yeah.
Despite the fact that he was up near 100 freaking pitches. By the way, remember when I said perhaps you don't go to your bullpen as early as you did on Monday with Kyle Gibson? Perhaps you recognize that Grayson Rodriguez is pitching tomorrow night. You might need a little bit more of your bullpen, and you try to get a little bit more out of Kyle Gibson before you go to your bullpen.
Maybe we can't piggyback with Austin Voth anymore.
Well, that certainly was a bit of a.
That might be the biggest.
That was a bit of a mess. There's no doubt. Well, I mean, they're both pretty big takeaways, and there is a question looming. What do you do when Kyle Bradish, returns? He's apparently going to start Friday at Bowie, and then they would presumably want him back in the rotation after that. So. It's easy for all of us to say, well, you can't send Grayson Rodriguez back down. Like, he's here now. He needs to be here. But, let's say he makes one more start. When would he line up? Sunday would be the next day that he would line up for, right? Because they don't have an off day on Thursday. Yeah. They have a game on Thursday. So, yeah, he would line up for Sunday. He makes a Sunday start, and it's rocky. They do have to give themselves the best chance to win games in the process. So we got to figure that out. That's going to be something that we'll have to look at. But it could be that, you go back to a piggyback situation with Tyler Wells, something like that. There are options that are on the table. The point of all of this being, fun night last night. If you were at the ballpark, I'm sure you enjoyed it. You would have preferred Grayson Rodriguez to make a stronger start. But I was appreciative of the feedback that we got, and there was a lot of it that we got from the segment that we did yesterday about the Homer hose. And I appreciate those of you that got it, that understood what it was that I was laying out. And in the last 24 hours, I've actually seen a lot more of people getting on board with being in on the bit. And I'm appreciative of that. Like, I don't think you guys fully understand that it could very well play an impact on whether or not we get to keep this thing all year long. I think there could be a factor there. So, I mean, a couple people were like, "Dude, it's over. It's called what it's called, man. Stop fighting." You're just not listening. You're not listening, and I know that our Barstool and somebody else put out T-shirts, and I get it. Once you do that, you want to try to sell them, and so you want to embrace the other thing. I'm begging of you that if you like it, stop that. Go the other route. Put it in quotes if you want. Like, do the air. I swear to God, sell it. And I would encourage you instead to go to Birdland Sports, and we'll talk more about them because they already have some shirts available. But if you want to show that you're in on it, put out a shirt that has hydration or Homer hose in quotes to play off the fact that we all know it's kind of a joke and we all know what it really is. But play along for the sake of the bit, for the sake of being able to keep it, for the sake of not having it taken away by someone in a suit who says, dude, it ain't worth it. The sprinkler stuff, amazing. Amazing. All in on the sprinkler. It's incredible. Could watch it all day. Love it. Homer hose. Hydration station. I know Slug and Chug is another one that's been going around. Fine. That one's a little bit, dicier, but I think it's still safe. It ain't the other thing. I'm not a prude.
Sounded like a prude.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I accept it. I know what it is. But we got to do this, man, or else you're gonna have it taken away from you. And I appreciate the fact that overwhelmingly, we got a ton of feedback on that segment from yesterday. And overwhelmingly, you guys really do seem to understand what it is that I'm saying, that I'm not just trying to be a jerk and ruin the fun. I appreciated all of that. I also appreciate the fact that the Orioles got a win last night. That matters too. All right, when we come back in, we are going to be joined by Joey Fisher, NFL draft prospect, Hagerstown native. Maybe he could be a Baltimore Raven. That is next. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Baseball season is finally here, and what better way to celebrate than with some fresh gear from Birdland Sports? As a small business run by O's fans, Birdland Sports offers a great selection of unofficial merchandise, including unique designs like Birds Are Coming tees, player cartoon shirts, and championship prediction designs. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. Get high-quality gear without breaking the bank. So whether you're heading to the ballpark or watching from home, show your love for the birds with Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com today to browse their collection and gear up for the season. Let's go O's!
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the bat-around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn, over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Baseball season is here for the first time in history. You can bet from your phone in Maryland during baseball season. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for the best sportsbook offers and incentives so you can start your winning today. Get 5-second chance bets at PointsBet when you deposit and bet your first $50. But you have to go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and click on the PointsBet link in order to claim that incentive. Joining us now, this man is a Hagerstown native, and he is most certainly going to hear his name called during the course of the NFL draft. From Shepherd University, it's a pleasure for us to welcome into the program Joey Fisher, who is with us now here on GCR. Joey, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Yes, sir. No problem, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, man, it's great to chat with you. Joey, I feel like you've become kind of America's sweetheart during the course of this draft process. How have you enjoyed the attention that's come your way, just going through this as someone who I'm sure grew up with this dream? How much has it meant to you to be able to go through the process the way that you've been going through it?
Oh, it's definitely been a real exciting journey. Obviously growing up, I was always a Baltimore Ravens fan. My dream was to be able to make it on the same field those guys were. Obviously my journey hasn't always been the smoothest or the straightest path, but just to be able to get the opportunity to come out and display my skills in front of the next level, and hopefully, like I said, in April, hear my name called to get the opportunity to fulfill my childhood dreams. I'm definitely excited.
All right, so let's go back to that. I did see a couple places that you were always a huge Ravens fan. You were a Ray Lewis guy. What have you allowed your mind to wander? I know no matter what, it's going to be exciting, and the complication is you'd be excited to be a Steeler now too. I understand that, but have you allowed your mind to wander at all towards the thought of dude, what happens if it is Baltimore? Have you thought about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, we just got back from the local day last Tuesday, which had a great time there. Me and Ronnie, another of our teammates, Brian Walker, showed out. We had a great time, but to be able to have the opportunity to go there and present myself, like I said, in front of my childhood team, and where the greats played, from Joe Flacco, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, all them guys that made and stuck their roots in Baltimore. It's definitely be a wild experience if I could hear my name called and be able to stay home and play in front of family and friends, and like I said, fulfill that childhood dream of being a Baltimore Raven.
So let me take a step back with you. You knew that you had a chance to do this at what point in your life? When did it start becoming clear, man, this might be something I could actually kind of pursue a little bit?
Yeah, so after the 2019 season, my first year at Shepherd, we started getting scouts coming to school and kind of just doing the small baby steps, kind of talking to us, kind of figuring out our background, our family, kind of my story leading up to Shepherd. And then, of course, we had the COVID year, which unfortunately canceled our season. So that was kind of heartbreaking, but, I kind of sat back and took that as an opportunity to, take a full year to get better, come up, get my weight up, get stronger in the weight room, develop my skill, my craft, and come out the 21 season and produce. That's where I got, a big kind of jump in this process to where, we're having all 32 teams visit the school, talking to me, Ronnie, Tyson, and being able to, just have your name be, held in a scout's notebook, or, them talk to you. It was definitely just a crazy experience.
So you had, let me go back even further. Coming out of high school, I saw somewhere that you had a chance to go to Towson and play at the Division I level. Why was Shepherd the spot for you? Why did you say this is the right place for me to continue in order to give myself that chance?
Right. So originally coming out of high school, I was a defensive end. I was actually committed to the University of Maryland.
Wow.
I'm originally from I'm actually originally from PG County. My mom's from PG County. And my dad's from Baltimore. So my whole family's got roots in Maryland. So I wanted to stay close so they could see me play at the next level. So I was originally committed to Maryland. They had some coaching changes, which, I didn't feel comfortable, so I ended up leaving there. And, Towson offered me a scholarship, full ride. So I took that opportunity. And, of course, being young, you're hearing the glitz and glamour. And sometimes it's not always, what it's kind of drawn out to be. So after leaving Towson, I didn't really have a home. I come from a small school. I live up now in Western Maryland. I went to Clear Spring High School, small school, 400 kids probably total. Was kind of the first, Division I football player out of my school and, around the area. So I didn't really have anybody to lean on and say, hey, where do I go next? How does this process work? So I just stuck to the grind. I ended up working with my father. He has his own business, working around the D.C. and Maryland area. So I ended up working with him. I got engaged during that process. And, one of my old high school coaches actually went to Shepherd University, a couple years later. I was like, hey, are you trying to find a home? And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get out there. I feel like I'm destined to be this football player. I need to get out there be able to at least say, hey, look, I tried. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I end up getting communication with Shepard. The head coach, me and him talked. We did some tours around the campus, and I kind of fell in love with it. Now I'm definitely have my roots there. I have a younger brother that also plays at Shepard. So any place that's definitely dear to my heart would be Shepard. It gave me an opportunity to come back and kind of a second chance deal.
So okay, so you said you started out as a defensive end. When did it switch to lineman? And like exactly how easy was that as transition?
Right, it definitely was. Until I didn't want to swallow. Me being a defensive guy, like I said, coming up watching Baltimore, them greats. I always had that defensive mentality. But when I got to Shepherd University, the head coach, Coach McCook, sat me down and said, listen, obviously we all know every football player's dream is to make the next level. To me, I think you could be a diamond in the rough, at the next level. I don't think a lot of linemen are built like you. Someone that's fast, strong, easy to move on their feet. How do you feel about making that transition? So, like I said, I bought into his program. I bought into what he was saying and what he was, putting on the plate. And I just developed into the player I am today, which got me to where I'm at today. So I'm definitely grateful for him.
40 reps on the bench at your pro day. 40
yes, sir.
reps. Is that just like a casual day for you? Is that just like hey, man, yeah, I would do that tomorrow if I had to? Or is that like bro, I spent a lot of time because I wanted to put up 40 reps on the bench?
Right. So actually, I'm actually disappointed with that number. Coming in January, we all, me, Ronnie, and our quarterback Tyson Bajan also went down to X3, which is in Fort Myers, Florida, to train. During that time, I came in doing 30 reps. And of course, going through the whole process of training through January and February, going to the All-Star games. Unfortunately, I ended up breaking my hand in the NFLPA game out in Los Angeles. So that actually set me back through my training through the whole month of February and the early March. So after I got like my little soft cast off in March, I only had a couple weeks to train and get what I could get. So like I said, I'm happy I got to the number 40. I think it's number 1 in the country right now from the combine all the way to pro days. So I'm happy about that. But I'm thinking to myself, if I didn't break my hand, where would I be at? 50s area, stuff like that.
What's that? Is there a number that you put up in what was the biggest number that you ever put up in a training session?
Training session, like I said, I never really went the full extent. Like, hey, let's slap it up there.
I get it.
Like,
I get it.
Right, like I said, around COVID, all my buddies came over my house. I ended up buying my own home gym. So that was kind of like, I call it Fisher's Fitness. I got signs made up down there in my gym. So I was kind of like the hot spot during COVID. So like I was messing around, hitting 35 reps. But never really touched the 40 mark, never really did that, but just messed around and hit 35 before.
Look, man, even that, if I would be happy with 5 myself. So that is blowing my mind, man. Joey Fisher is with us. I say Hagerstown native, but as we just learned, actually PG County native. But we're just gonna go with Maryland, all around Maryland guy, and most importantly, Ravens fan for our sake. Joey, you got to do the Senior Bowl thing. How important was that for you in believing that this was real, right? Like, I know that you were going to go through the process no matter what, and you were going to grind for it. But how important was it for you to get that call, to be a part of that, to be going up against all of the other top guys in the country, to start feeling like, oh, no, this is real. I legitimately have a chance to hear my name called?
It was definitely exciting. I had a really good outing at the PA game. I ended up getting the call up about midweek. I want to say that Thursday before the PA game. So I was definitely excited, to be able to join my teammate Tyson over there and be able to go just to say, hey, listen, I made it to, the Senior Bowl. What kind of doors does that open up? Obviously being able to go there right after the PA game and, meet with GMs, head coaches, multiple personnel from, every 32 teams there. Was definitely an eye-opening experience. Like I said, not every day do you get to walk on the same field and, be 2 feet away from Mike Tomlin as he's working with the O-line, see, Mike Vrabel, the Tennessee Titans head coach, be able just to be in that kind of same room as those guys and feel the energy they have. Even if they're just standing there talking, just to have that type of energy in the same room is static.
I can only imagine, man. Like, you grow up loving this game, and then you're there like, wow, this is I'm part of this thing. Like, I'm here now.
Right.
Like, that's a pretty cool feeling. Why was it Ravens for you? I'm interested in that now, right? Like, when I thought you were originally from Hagerstown, I was like, I bet you there's some more Steelers fans out that way. But now that it's PG County, why was it the Ravens for you? Was it your dad? Was that what it was all about?
Yeah, so my dad's actually from Woodbury. Most of my dad's side of the family was from that area, in Baltimore.
Yeah.
My mom being a PG baby, her family was all, at the time, Redskins fans, but now Commanders. So it was kind of split between what part of the household do I go with. But of course, like I said, me being a defensive guy, kind of introduced football to my family, and I chose Baltimore. You can't go wrong with them guys that had they had on defense. So that's somebody I stuck with, and has been right to this day.
I saw you're a huge Ray Lewis guy. You're not like the type that has like any of his old speeches like available on your phone to pull up when you need to get hyped, are you?
Yeah. I mean, I got a couple of YouTube videos in the collection. Of course, I've actually, crazy enough too, I've actually met him a couple of times back when he had the I think it was the Blue Moon Cafe.
Oh wow!
Wow. That long ago, I ended up meeting him there, getting some autographs. Stuff like that. I even participated in the long time ago punt pass kick competition. I actually competed on that and won it for the state of Maryland. And of course, we got to perform before the game at the M&T Bank Stadium.
Dude.
So that was also a cool experience. Be able to come out at halftime and just be engulfed by the fans and the whole situation.
I knew I liked you already, but now this is like lining up to potentially be one of the greatest stories in history. You have no idea how disappointed I'm going to be if it ends up being Pittsburgh now. Oh, God, it's going to wreck me if it ends up being the case. What is the team that takes the chance, the team that calls your name during the course of the NFL draft? What are they getting in you, Joey Fisher?
For one, outside the field, they're going to get a family man. I'm not a guy that goes out and parties and will be a distraction. Of course, on the field, you're going to get a guy that wants to come out every day, work hard, be a mauler. That's something I kind of pride myself on, being able to come out and dominate the guy in front of me, produce hard work, also be a sponge, being able to collect information from the coaches, the veterans, the players around me, and just being able to see across the league, what tools do guys have in their tool belt and what can I take from that and develop my game into. It's going to be easy for me to say I'm rooting for you because you're a great dude and you're a local guy. I hope you know that like it's really going to be painful for me and we're going to have no choice. But if it ends up being Pittsburgh, we're going to have to say terrible things about you. I just hope that you understand it's not personal, man. Like I hope that you get that from being a Ravens fan, that you understand if that's the way it goes, you're about to be, you'll and I know from being out at Shepherd, I'm going to guess there's going to be a lot of people in your life that are thrilled about the idea of you being a Pittsburgh Steeler at that point. Yep. Like I said, the more up this way you get, the more Pittsburgh fans you start to get. With me, obviously, I understand that. I used to have my feuds back in the day going through school, and stuff like that. But, like I said, man, I'd be grateful for any team that'd be able to call my name and be able to represent whatever organization puts the time and money into me. Oh, man, I completely get that, dude. I know that this is the moment you've been waiting for in your life, and here we are on the cusp of it. Joey, where can people around here be giving you a follow? Twitter, Instagram, anywhere like that. What can we plug for you? Yeah, the two platforms I use mostly are just Twitter and Instagram. My Twitter is actually JoeyFisher76, and then my Instagram is JoeyFisher.76. Very good. Joey Fisher, really a lot of fun to get to chat with you this morning, man. Can't wait to see what's next for you in this process. Dude, if it ends up being Baltimore, what an unbelievable story that will be. My God, definitely. It would be one of the greatest stories of all time. But best of luck to you no matter where it ends up being. Thanks for taking the time for us this morning. We really appreciate it. Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, guys. That's Joey Fisher, who's from Maryland, grew up a Ravens fan. Family, literally where our studio used to be in Woodbury, and then ended up out in Hagerstown and at Shepherd. Great dude. Can't wait to see what's next for him. And what a cool story. Punt, pass, and kick at M&T Bank Stadium to then having the chance to one day play at M&T Bank Stadium. That is a cool story. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning here on GCR. All right, Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios are up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, and you'll never believe this, but some of you are struggling with it. Just a quick reminder, Would You Rather Wednesday, brought to you by Birdland Sports,
it's a question. There's one scenario, and then there's another scenario, and you have to pick one or the other. You don't get to try to mesh the two of them together to create like a best of both worlds scenario. If it's too much for you, and I mean this, just don't participate. It's okay. Now, you can't win the T-shirt of your choice from Birdland Sports, birdlandsports.com, where they do have both Hydration Station and Slug and Chug T-shirts available today. The Hydration Station T-shirt on sale for $17.49 right now at birdlandsports.com. You won't be able to win that because you got to participate in order to win that.
Oh, man, the Homer Hose one.
Yeah. They're all available right now. They're all available. And you can get those by going to birdlandsports.com. But you could also win one by participating in Would You Rather Wednesday, because tomorrow we're going to choose someone at random who participated to win a free T-shirt. So that's what I would encourage you to do, is participate. And as difficult as it might be, pick one or the other of the scenarios. One or the other. And you say, well, it's more complicated than that. I know. I understand. The good news is you're not the president. You're not the one pushing the buttons. No matter what you say in a tweet or in a Facebook post, you're not going to be Eric DaCosta tomorrow. You're not going to be Mike Elias. So your opinion is largely irrelevant. It's just for the purpose of playing our silly little game. That's it. That's all we're doing here. And we'd love to have you be a part of it. If it's too much, I understand. I struggle with things too. This is called Would You Rather Wednesday. As my friend Ryan Frazier is, he's going to have a day today. It's a big day for Ryan. Big day.
It is happening more often, I feel like.
This is called Would You Rather Wednesday. And if you've ever played Would You Rather, it's like when somebody says, would you rather lose a finger or 2 toes? I get it. I'd rather not lose any of them. But in order to play the game, which is a time-honored tradition, a parlor game of sorts, it's been passed down. It's helped people pass time for generations.
Probably rather lose 2 toes, I guess.
That wasn't on the list today. You can't. That's not going to win you a T-shirt. I'm so sorry, Griffin. You're not going to get it. I think you're right. I don't know but what if it was 4 toes?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, and you don't get to pick which 4 they are. So if somebody was like, well, if it was 2 off each foot, I'm still kind of evenly balanced. Well, it could be 4 off 1 foot.
You just number each one and random generate, 4 numbers out of 10.
That's the way it goes, man. And those are the toes that are gone.
Both big toes.
Yeah, they could both be gone. That's
but
tough.
I get to pick the finger.
No, you don't get to pick the finger either. Yeah, I know. It's getting really tough now. We're really struggling with this
Can't lose a thumb.
Again, would you rather, on one scenario this, the other scenario that, you got to pick one or the other. That's the way that it goes. I believe in you. I believe you can do it. Really. I truly do. Some of you prove me wrong constantly, but I still believe in you and your capability to play along with Would You Rather Wednesday. So do me a favor, prove me right. Go ahead. Prove me right today by participating at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. Get your responses in, and you'll be registered to win a free T-shirt from our friends at birdlandsports.com. Again, birdlandsports.com has all sorts of cool celebration of the Homer Hose available right now. Go check it out, birdlandsports.com. Drew Forrester, scheduled to join us in studio next. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hartford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The National Championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? AJ Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn, over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. So, Mr. Producer, where are we?
He did say 10:45.
Oh, okay. Fine.
I'm sorry.
Fine. Hey, if you missed it, Stan the Fan Charles and Ross Grimsley caught up with author Lee Lowenfish on Monday night. He's got an interesting book out about the death of scouting in baseball. You can check that out right now by going to Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, clicking on the Videos tab, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, and Lee Lowenfish talking about the death of scouting within baseball. That conversation available right now. Still to come this morning, we'll catch up with former Giants executive Marc Ross. He's now with NFL Network. Get his thoughts on Odell Beckham. Talk some Trey Wingo. Will also give us his thoughts on the Ravens edition. He still thinks Odell Beckham can be significant. And we'll talk some NFL draft here in a few minutes with Lance Zierlein. All of that still to come here on the program. Now, all that being said, two things quickly from yesterday. I don't remember who sent it to me, but I'll deal with that later. It's not important because I remember the gist of the conversation. Someone said, there we go, Chris. I've got it. Sorry. Chris said, Glenn, you were down on the idea of Odell Beckham reflecting an all-in thought process for the Ravens. I understand the point of what it is that you're saying. I guess my retort would be that at some point they could have changed their minds and they have to deal with whatever is left because they know it's not going to work out long term and they're going to have to make a decision come hell or high water next off season. If the Ravens have already done Odell Beckham and if they feel like they have enough space that they can still clear, why couldn't they still be in on a DeAndre Hopkins? Why couldn't they still be in on anyone else? I saw Stephon Diggs trying to make some winky eyes yesterday on Twitter. Stephon Diggs is not being traded by the Bills. It'd be like $40 million worth of dead cap space. It ain't happening. Stop. It's not happening.
Not this year.
No, definitely not. I don't know if he'd be traded in the future. I have no idea where they're at with Stephon Diggs. I saw somebody somebody was talking about that yesterday, that's what he was trying to do. Apparently a bunch of Giants fans have convinced themselves they could somehow get Stephon Diggs this offseason. They can't trade him. It's not an option, so stop it with that. I addressed this point earlier in the week. I think you're reading into things too much. I also don't think the Ravens are going to give up more picks. I think the Ravens are going to try to get more picks. I don't see the Ravens trading more draft picks at this point. I think doing Odell Beckham is their way of telling you we're not doing DeAndre Hopkins. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want to have about that. And on paper, which of the two would I rather have? Yeah, I'd probably rather have DeAndre Hopkins. Not probably. I'd definitely rather have DeAndre Hopkins. But DeAndre Hopkins is also going to cost you draft assets. And even if we think that price has come down, I still think there's a point where the Cardinals say, we're not just going to give up DeAndre Hopkins for nothing. Now, maybe I'll prove to be wrong. Maybe they'll literally just give him up for a casual third-round pick. By the time we get to the draft, it's possible that plays out. But when we all talk about the price of DeAndre Hopkins crashing, I would say I still think there's a limit to a team just getting rid of an asset for what? What is the purpose of the Cardinals just moving on from DeAndre Hopkins? Again, it gets you a third-round pick, and that's one more third-round pick than you had before. But I think there has to be a limit to how low you can be willing to go in valuing your own assets. And I don't think they can do that. Moreover, the moment the Ravens make that type of move, they now have one pick on nights 1 and 2 of the draft. And I just don't see them doing that. I think they've done what they're going to do at wide receiver, short of maybe drafting one. I think they've done it. What? What is your deal? What is your problem? What?
I just can't do it anymore.
Do what?
I just can't talk about sports.
Then why are you here? We had a whole show booked.
I just can't do it.
What, sports?
You're still talking about the Ravens.
Well, yes. I don't know if you heard they play here. You familiar with that? They're the team.
You're still talking
they're the team
about
here.
The friggin' Ravens.
Right, yes. What would you like to talk about? Well, I know you want to talk about John Rahm.
The Masters.
That's what you want to talk
you got
about.
my green
yeah, I got
my
your
green mouth thing
mic
here.
cover there, windscreen, because of Masters week.
Please stop talking about the Ravens.
What do you got for us?
Talk about Joe Madden.
What did you prepare for today? Exactly.
I just did an hour of golf talk over there at 105.7.
Did you really?
Radioed out.
You did it?
No, I mean, I did my show for this weekend.
Oh, wait, you recorded it on Wednesday?
That's the only time I can get in there.
How am I going to get RBC Heritage updates on
right,
Sunday
right.
if you're not
Is that
there?
where they're playing this week?
Yeah, that is this week. Of course, us golf guys know that.
I know.
Yeah, right. Us golf guys are away.
Man.
What's up with you?
Not much.
Yeah?
Just excited, very excited.
About what?
The Ryan Mountcastle era, dog.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in Would You Rather Wednesday here in a second.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We'll cover that. Give me your thumbnail.
Do you call them the A's or the Athletics?
I've never really thought about it. I think I do both. I think that there are times where I call them the
I
A's.
really like Athletics. I think A's
Why?
is stupid, but
Are they going to keep that name when they move to Vegas, or are they going to adopt something else?
I would say they're going to keep it.
I was going to make a joke on Twitter last night. Like, if I were an Athletics
They're moving,
fan,
right?
But they have to. They don't have a choice.
Yeah, I mean,
what else are they going to do?
That stadium they were going to build is not getting built.
Yes, it's over.
Yeah, they're going to Vegas.
They're playing in Vegas is a thing. Like that's got to occur.
No,
and I think
they're
that
going to call them the Las Vegas Athletics. It's just they're
I
going
would
to just move. Sure.
I would assume like it's sort of like they've kind of accepted that entire part of the country just likes the brands. Like the Raiders have moved to 3 different cities and kept the same name.
Yeah, they don't care
The entire time. I assume they'll keep the same
they
name.
will. I hope they keep their uniforms.
Really?
You don't like the A's uniforms?
Never done anything for
man,
me.
I like them.
Not really a yellow guy.
You're not?
Like it's not really my thing.
It's a good Coldplay song.
It was a decent Coldplay song. You're not wrong about that. It was a decent song. How was
Man, they're terrible.
Who? Coldplay?
No, the A's.
Yeah, I mean, like Coldplay's really gone downhill too.
Right.
But like,
Ever since he did the thing with James
Corden, that's who you blame it on. You blame it on Corden?
All going downhill.
That guy doesn't do much for me either. How was Springsteen?
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I would say the band. Now I thought the building really held up well sound wise. It was great because that building prior to the other night was never known as the bastion for great sound for concerts.
Not at all.
It sounded great. He has really benefited. Well, first of all, he's benefited from. I kind of completely forgot he hadn't really done a real tour in 6 years. I forgot that. I mean, he did the Broadway thing. He did a couple one-off things for hurricanes and stuff, but this was the first time that the band had been together in 6 years. And so that, I've kind of forgotten until the other day Tom Morello's not with them anymore. I didn't even realize.
Oh, really?
I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that.
I think that
Do they still do Ghost of Tom Joad?
No, they didn't the other night.
Okay.
That coupled with, every third night, every second or third night now, and, a reduced set list, 245 instead of 320, 330, 340. I think that's really helped him. And probably by extension has helped the band, but I think it's really helped Springsteen. Didn't tour for 6 years, sounded great the other night, looked good. I think not doing it every single night helps, right? It gives you a chance to breathe a little bit. The fact that they're not killing themselves with 33 or 34 songs every single night helped.
Well,
I also, I was not a fan, for the most part. I wasn't a fan of the set list the other night because I cheated and I knew what was coming.
I thought they were doing different. I thought he always did different set lists.
That's what's kind of not been good. Now, I will say that
does he still do the sign thing? Does
No.
he still? Oh boy! Oh
No.
wow!
Now, what I will say is sort of the nature of unintended consequences. The fact that they're doing 24 of the same 27 songs every night,
They're tight. Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah.
Whereas, like last night, I looked
But
at the
his
set list.
shtick used to be that they would get together to rehearse for a tour, and he'd say, "You better be up on 100 songs.
Correct.
You better be
Correct.
including random songs we might never
So last
play."
night they did "Born in the USA" up in Albany for whatever reason. I don't
Okay.
even know why. I think it was in Albany. But they did the same set list from the night before, 2 nights before, that they did last night, but they substituted "Born in the USA" for something.
Okay.
Other than that,
It was the same.
it was the same.
Okay.
It was not, to me, it's just not what I wanted. And
But it'll be different when they get the stadium, right? They can't do the same show.
I don't know. Here's what I would say. He's going over to Europe.
Yeah.
Here's what I would hope. I would hope that at some point over there's a shift that they decide, hey, okay, now we're going to do something. No Surrender was a great opening song. I will say that. For the most part, historically on his tours, he has kept the opening song the same. So if you think back to the last tour, it was Meet Me in the City Tonight. Then he did the River album. That was the last one, right? For a while, he was doing I'm a Rocker from the River album as the opener. Then he was doing
I don't know.
I know, I'm singing it to myself. But
Yeah.
anyway, so my hope is that by the time they come back over here for the late summer baseball stuff, my hope is that he's switched it up a little.
Okay.
And the other night, he played Ghosts and Letter to You from that album, Letter to You. That album was 60% lousy.
Okay. That's the by far and away the worst thing you've ever said about Bruce Springsteen.
Oh,
by far.
I don't think.
By far.
I thought that. I would say this. I don't think I think the last 12 years, catalog-wise, have not been very good for him.
Right.
I thought the last really good album he did was Wrecking Ball, whenever that was.
Oh, that was a good one. I actually remember that one. That was a good one.
Great
that was a good
album.
one. I'm with you.
I also thought that I think you and I talked about this. I thought the Western Stars album, given the difference in the different path, I thought that was very interesting. I thought the Western Stars album was very interesting. And I think there were some really good songs on Western Stars.
Okay.
He didn't play any of them the other night, but I thought that album, way more than this thing he's doing now, which is terrible, this soul cover thing. Nobody wants to hear you get up there and sing Night Shift by the Common.
I don't know, man. I actually enjoyed that.
It's
I
terrible.
actually enjoy that a little
It's
bit.
terrible.
I actually enjoy
And
it.
but again, here's what I would say.
By the way, the breakdown, if I asked him to talk about the baseball game last night, I would have gotten 30 seconds. I don't want. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
I
We
brought.
won
I
12 to
asked
8,
one.
we covered
I
it.
asked one question. How was Bruce
we won
Springsteen?
12-8, we covered.
10 minutes later, he's still going.
And here's the last thing. I would say this about I've said this to you before about other bands.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible when Dave Matthews plays Sledgehammer. Like, who cares?
See, that's actually to me always kind of what I've enjoyed about. I've gone to four. I've gone to 4 Bruce Springsteen
Play You
shows.
Never Know.
I've gone to 4 shows, and what I like is that's why I kind of like the sign part of the bit. When like,
yeah, but they're Springsteen songs.
Not always. Like
well,
somebody
yeah,
would
sometimes it's twist and shout.
Yes,
but those are also plants, I think.
I don't know. I've kind of always.
I think they are.
I've kind of always enjoyed that part of it. Your point about the arena.
We're going to talk sports now.
No, I don't really want to either. I don't really want to.
The arena looked great.
We got unfortunately booked guests today, so I'm really nervous about how this is going to go with you.
Well,
yeah. Yeah, he's going to disappear. He's going to take a phone call is the way it's going to go. I know how that is. Boy, really inspired effort from you today.
I'm just Ravens
really
down, man.
Inspired.
Just sign the guy and get it over with. I told you all along he's staying.
What is going on?
I guess that's what I'm bummed out about.
Oh, is that it's over?
I'm going to wind up being right about it. I wish they would trade him.
What?
Just so we can have something to talk about
okay.
and get mad about for the next 5 months.
Well,
we can't get mad about anything.
I'm the guy that's been doing a meter, so it's really terrible for me that.
I mean, I've told you all along he's staying.
Yeah, but you didn't know it. You were just saying something.
I'm telling. He's nowhere to go.
Other than one moment, I've always thought it was more likely that he was going to stay for 5 minutes.
There's nowhere for him to go.
For 5 minutes that morning on Twitter, I was like, "Oh my god!" And then I realized 5 minutes later, like, "Wait a second. We're all overreacting to this." And then
he's not
we
going
moved
anywhere.
on.
He never was going anywhere.
All right. But
now the question is,
yes, whether he's going to be around.
Well, the question is it going to be? This is the only
right,
remaining question.
Right.
Is this? Is he going to be? I say a prick. Like, is he going to sit out and not be at training camp and be persona non grata and create this firestorm? That's the only question left.
Well, and their hope is that by doing this, they've bought that goodwill, but they also are still going to have to pay him more than $32 million. Like, he's not going to play for $32 million this season.
I wouldn't either.
That's not correct.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
They called me and they said, "Would you do it for 32?" And I said, "No chance. It's going to have to be a little bit more than that. They're going to have to figure that out."
Right.
But that for over 1 year, I don't think is going to be a big deal to them. I think they'll be willing to figure out some way.
By the way, I'm in the minority on the Beckham thing. I don't know. I don't think, because I don't know what Lamar. I don't think Lamar knows. I don't think Lamar told Beckham, "Sign here, I'm staying." I don't believe that. I think the Ravens convinced Beckham Lamar is going to be here because he's got nowhere to go.
I thought that at first, but the follow-up, them going out and partying at the club on Sunday night, the reports that Lamar was openly recruiting Odell Beckham to Baltimore, that stuff is a little bit too much for me to think that there wasn't a, "Hey, dude, if you come here, I'm going to play this season." Like, I think there has to be something there. Now, again, they still have to land the plane, to your point. That's why I'm still giving 8% flexibility on the meter. They still have to land the plane here and figure out what that looks like. Is he actually showing up? All those things. They still got to get that all worked out. But it's very difficult for me to fathom that those guys, hours after Odell Beckham signed, were out clubbing together and partying if there was any ambiguity about whether or not they were actually going to be teammates this season. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. Rich people do things that I'll never be able to imagine. But the idea that, like, they just said, "You're going to play for the team that I used to play for. We should go out and party tonight."
Right.
I think that's a bit much. I think that part
I think the
of it,
Ravens convinced Beckham he ain't going anywhere.
Well, I also think that no one else was willing to pay him $15 million to play football.
100%.
Like, I think that's 1,000%
no question.
a major part of the equation when it comes to all of this.
No question.
You brought up the sound at the arena. That, to me, was the biggest takeaway that I had from being there. Like, there was nothing that... It looks great. It feels better. It's more open. There's plenty of things that I like about it. But you'll still be in that building and look around and be like, yeah, this is a square building. Like, there's still things that will remind you that you're at the Baltimore arena while you're there. The sound blew me away. I have sat in the exact same seats for other shows that I sat in for Earth, Wind, and Fire. I've never heard that building sound as good as it sounded when I was there on Thursday night. Never.
I was on the floor. So I never got into another area of the arena, but I was blown away by how good
I was about midway up in the lower level for Thursday, and it sounded like I was on. It sounded like I was in the front row. It sounded unbelievable in that building. That's the biggest takeaway that I could come away with as far as what's new about the arena. Would you pay for your Springsteen ticket? Like,
way too much.
Yeah, I know that, but like, did you have to do the dynamic thing?
You don't
want
to
do that? Okay.
Yes, I did. I was not happy about it. More so once I realized. Now, let me stop and say this: I couldn't go to the DC show because Calvert Hall Golf had a match that day, which is weird because I control the schedule. But anyway,
way to go, dummy.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have gone there. The pricing was a little different. I would have gone there. Had I known he was coming to the baseball stadium, I would have waited it out for Baltimore. I would have still gone Friday night. But I would have also known the value of the ticket was going to go way down.
Got it.
Those seats the other night.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, anybody listening right now wants to go see a show in the arena, sit upstairs in 304 or 303, 304. You're directly over the right-hand or left-hand corner of the stage. They're great seats. If you can get row A or row B or row C in the upper level, they're great seats for a show.
Okay.
And you got those the other night for $250.
Yeah, I can't do that either.
Well,
I'm out on that.
But I'm saying
you paid.
Oh, more.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
now
boy.
for me,
oh boy.
Right.
This is what you're going to go to. You're
right.
not going to go to 4 other shows this summer.
No.
Yeah.
I would again if my schedule would have allowed, I would have probably gone to.
No, I just mean you're not going to go to. You're not going to go to see the Eagles.
No,
you're not going to go see Queen and Adam Lambert.
We might go see Dave Matthews, but that would be it. And those are getting
well, that's not
expensive
that's at
too.
Merriweather,
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm saying, standing here now saying, I don't know if I'm going to the baseball show or not. And if some friends of mine said, hey, that weekend, is it a weekend? I
want to say it's Saturday night, in fact.
Somebody said to me, hey, that weekend, we're thinking about we're going to go to Nemacolin to play golf for the weekend. You want to go? I would just go play golf. It wouldn't keep me. That baseball show is not going to keep me from doing something else. But if I'm here on that Friday and you called me and said, dude, you want to go down there and go get some chicken wings and go watch Springsteen,
right.
I would go.
All right.
That's how I'm looking at it.
Before we talk some NFL draft this morning, I'm going to give you. Here's your minute.
Come on, man.
Tell me what matters about John Rahm winning the Masters.
What matters is
it matters for him, obviously.
Well, what matters is he's halfway to the career Grand Slam. He got the one out of the way that is the most mercurial of them all, because of the golf course, and because of the way of the golf course's routing. It does require certain shots that you don't find in other places. So he mastered that, no pun intended. So I think that's a very, very important. He got 2 of the 4 out of the way. He can win either one of the other 2 for sure. I think I would say this: he has the 2 toughest out of the way. The U.S. Open and the Masters are the 2 most difficult to win, and he got both of those out of the way.
Okay.
He's almost a slam dunk to win the British Open at some point. And if they get to a venue like maybe this month, if they get to a venue at PGA where 8-9 under is your winner, and it's not a birdie fest like it was last year at Southern Hills, he could win there.
Okay.
So I would say what's the most important about it is
he's kind of establishing himself as
he's
being.
Got 2 of the 4 out of the way,
Yep.
and to me, he's got the 2 that are sort of the most mercurial. He got them both out of the way.
Okay.
So it was a hell of a win for him. Obviously he's a great player.
No question about it.
Yep.
No question about it. All right, Drew Forrester is here. He'll be talking more about that on Fairways and Greens this Sunday, live on 105.7 The Fan at noon. You can check it out there. Joining us this morning as we get into this week's NFL draft segment, he is, of course, with NFL Media, NFL.com, where you can see all of his stuff. Lance Zierlein, an NFL Network analyst. NFL Network provides live coverage of the 2023 NFL Draft from Kansas City, April 27th through 29th. Lance, it's Glenn and Drew in Baltimore. It's great to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Sure. How you guys doing?
Everything's good. Part of the reason why we wanted to talk to you is because you had gone a rather fascinating route for the Ravens in your last mock draft. and had them making the trade that some of us have wondered if was possible with the Indianapolis Colts. Seeing what they did with Odell Beckham and now Lamar Jackson and Odell Beckham doing like a buddy cop picture together, do you think it's less likely that scenario could end up playing out?
I think it's substantially less likely. I think what it does is now Lamar, who had kind of painted himself into a corner with his stance on everything, now this gives him, a plausible solution in the short term. Maybe not to re-sign, but to come back and play on the $32 million tag. Now you have an opportunity to say, well, I know that I posted that Instagram post, and I know that I had, but however, now that OBJ comes back, let's go one more time, run it back, Ravens flock. You can almost see the Instagram post where, we're going to, I've always loved the Ravens, and I'm going to do one more year, and then we'll see what happens. I'm not going to talk until, I think that he does. I think he plays on the tag this year. I don't know if they come to an agreement. I think Lamar's going to have to back off, and even if he doesn't now, there may be some concerns now from the Ravens side. But I think what happens is by bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. By the way, there's no guarantee that Odell Beckham Jr. right now is not a true wide receiver one. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's any guarantee. But he improves the team. He improves the pass catchers room. So I think that helps. But he gives Lamar an out now to save a little bit of face and come back and play this year. And I think that's important for the Ravens. But at the same time, if you're the Ravens, are you just completely out on quarterback this year, or do you alter the way that you approach Lamar Jackson after he comes back? Because I do think he's going to come back.
So let me go to the second pick you had them making in the first round, because it's also related to what the Ravens did in signing Odell Beckham. I have said all along, I'm okay, even though they clearly overpaid for Odell Beckham. I'm fine with the circumstances. Even if you get a marginalized version, the Ravens wide receiver room stinks. There's nothing there outside of Rashad Bateman, provided he's healthy. So I can live with all of those things. And if it helped you, mend fences with Lamar,
better than you.
Slightly. And if it helped you mend fences with Lamar Jackson, all good. My only issue would be this can't change your philosophy going into the draft. You can't suddenly believe that you have figured out wide receiver because you've got Odell Beckham in the fold. I have no idea what Odell Beckham is at this point, but even if it works, he's only under contract for 1 year. Do you think they should still be in the market for wide receiver with the 22nd pick?
Absolutely. It's a 1-year deal. And like you said, it's a 1-year deal, and you don't even know, how good Beckham is right now. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big problem, is that if you think this solves anything, it doesn't. Now, does it allow you to push it to next year? It could, but I think your point that you made about the wide receiver room is a valid one. I still don't think, I don't know who Rashad Bateman is. I don't know if he's going to be the guy that people think he is. I know you got two pass-catching tight ends that you can work around, and that's fine. But I gave them Zay Flowers because I thought Zay is a guy who can get open on his own and can be a dynamic wide receiver, independent of Lamar Jackson, whoever a quarterback's going to be. I think Zay Flowers is just a good player. So, for me, I think there's too many Perryman vibes to Quentin Johnston. I know Johnston is a more dynamic college player, but man, he's got a lot of drops. He's not as fast as Perryman was, and he frankly didn't have a great pro day workout. So I kind of would pass. If I had my choices, I think I'd rather go with the guy that I feel a little bit more confident about being a consistent performer, and that would be Zay Flowers. But I also don't think there's a true top dog wide receiver in this draft either.
I know that's been a difficult thing. A lot of analysts have said this is not a great wide receiver draft. Of course, we all remember a few years ago when everybody said that, and literally everyone besides Hollywood Brown and N'Keal Harry ended up being a rock star, and the Ravens got Hollywood Brown. Tell me more about where, I think one of the things that I liked about Zay Flowers was, world without Odell Beckham, he really seemed to be kind of the perfect complement to Rashad Bateman in a wide receiver room. Is it some of it, the quality of the player? How much of it is the fit in what the Ravens are trying to do offensively?
Well, I think some is a fit, but what are you fitting your pieces to? At this point, you don't, there's the saying that a wide receiver room, you want it to be like a basketball team, right? A wide variety of types of receivers. For me, you don't even have that baseline you don't have that necessarily that baseline. I'm just trying to go get a good pass catcher if I'm the Ravens. I want a guy who can separate, and I want a guy with great hands who can, make contested catches and make plays. Does it help that you can play Bateman outside and Flowers inside? Absolutely. But is that how I'm approaching this? Not really. And I mean, frankly, if Lamar Jackson stays there, I think you need bigger targets. We know his accuracy can be a little, and ball placement can be hit or miss. So I think you want guys with maybe a little bit bigger catch radiuses. You want guys with good hands. And so I think who your quarterback is and what kind of offense you're going to run could also play into your wide receiver choice. But if Lamar comes back for this year, to me, I'm just going to go try to find a wide receiver I think is good. Listen, I think there's some good wide receivers. They're just smaller than normal. Zay Flowers gained 10 pounds in the during the draft season to go from 178 to 188, but he was a smaller guy. Josh Downs is a terrific player, but Josh Downs is 171 pounds, but I really like him out of North Carolina, who I think he'd be a great fit for the Ravens too in the second round if you could get him, if you traded back. So there's some guys that will be effective wide receivers. I just think that they're complementary pieces.
Is there any way, if something weird happens and by the end of April the Ravens haven't figured this out with Lamar, is there any way somewhere they take a quarterback?
Hendon Hooker's name comes to mind.
Just
obviously.
to push, just to have that in their back
100%.
pocket.
No, I think Hendon Hooker's the one that makes the most sense because you can try to get him in the second round. I mean, I don't know. The teams I've talked to don't think Hendon Hooker's going in the first. I know the media thinks that's going to happen, but teams don't seem to be as sold on that. So we'll see what happens. Hooker is a great example of someone that you could, he's a guy you have to kind of wait on because he was injured this year. He had the ACL tear. So, he's probably not going to be a factor at all this year, but yeah, I do think you could draft quarterback. And if you do feel like that Lamar's had some conversations in the background, we don't know what's going on in the background. It doesn't feel like anything is, but if something is going on and if you feel confident, if Lamar comes to you and says, hey, I think we might be able to get a deal done, maybe after the draft. I know the Ravens would rather do something before the draft to get the highest, most known draft pick possible. But if that doesn't happen, then you just kind of have to take your chances with wherever Lamar goes. You're going to just have to hope that, that team stinks. And that's not, I don't know how likely that is, to be honest with you.
That's the problem. I think that's the
juxtaposition
right,
they're in.
Correct.
If they trade him somewhere, they want a really good pick. Problem is when they trade him somewhere, that team gets good all of a sudden.
Yes, it's probably going to be drastically better.
And so guys, what's the, why would the Colts, let's just say the Colts were interested, right?
Right.
Why would the Colts be in a big hurry to get anything done before the draft when they've got the fourth pick?
Right.
That's the problem you run into if you're Eric DeCosta.
It's why I think it's most likely that Lamar Jackson is a Baltimore Raven like you do, like I know Drew does. That's the reality of it.
If he was going somewhere, he would have already gone.
I think that's true, too. Lance Zierlein with us on GCR. Lance, you could argue now with Odell Beckham, and some people would say that with Marcus Peters still lingering out there and not a Baltimore Raven, that cornerback is maybe a bigger need at this point for the Ravens. There's two names that have been really interesting to us all along. One is a local kid from Baltimore via Edgewood. That's Deonte Banks. You have a nightmare scenario for Maryland fans because you have him going to Pittsburgh. The other one, of course, is Joey Porter Jr., which would just be so fascinating given the history that our city has with Joey Porter. You have him on the table, and you have him in play still, where a lot of people have him going a little bit earlier. Why are you not quite as bullish about Joey Porter as maybe other people are that kind of have him as a consensus top 20 pick?
I like Joey Porter just fine. I think when it comes right down to it, though, the guys who have special traits historically, and that's Deonte Banks. I've got a higher grade on Joey Porter, to be sure. I think he's the better prospect. But when I do mock drafts, I try to figure out what teams might do. And historically, guys who are the size of Deonte Banks, who run like he runs, who jump like he jumps, who's explosive, like those guys just have a tendency, and he can play in different schemes. Joey Porter Jr. is going to be more of a press man corner, so he's more of a very a specific type of scheme from a team standpoint. I just think Banks is going to end up being the third guy because of the traits. I think there'll be enough teams. I think Joey Porter Jr. will have teams saying, yeah, he's a good player. We'll consider him. But you'll have more teams who say, man, Banks. I like Banks. He's got that. Look how explosive he is. We can really do something with him. I just think there will be more excitement about Banks, and that will, ultimately, I think, lead him to being the third corner off the board. But I do think from a need standpoint, I definitely consider pass rush. I consider defensive end, and I consider quarterback. Funny, the Ravens have their fair share. I think you're going to end up getting a pretty good football player there at 22.
We know the Ravens have only 5 picks going into the draft, and we know the Ravens will sweat the idea of having only 5 picks. They don't like operating that way. They'd like to have 5 picks in the 4th round of any given NFL draft. I've heard from some people that maybe that if you move back from 22 to 37, you're not really changing your reality all that much. Is that true about this year's draft?
Well, fact is that's true in every draft. The boards for teams, you have to remember a team board is much different than a board media people put together where you're considering all 32 teams. A team board, there's going to be some players that don't fit the scheme. There are going to be some players that will fall out because of medical reasons, because of character issues that they'll eliminate. So the team board is going to be much tighter. It's going to be much tighter. It's going to be a much smaller group of guys. And so what happens is a lot of times, you'll get to the 37th pick or whatever, and you'll find that some of the players who you would have considered at 25 are still there. And so that's why trading back for a team like the Ravens and maybe for a team like the Vikings, a couple of teams that, have good teams, but they would like to have more picks, moving back might make more sense. So I think moving back for the Ravens is not a bad idea at all. Unless you have a guy you really, really covet that you think is a top 10 player who's in that spot, I think moving back is not a bad idea, just so that you have the ability to add, and it may be adding a future pick next year. You might even do that.
Just for the fun of it, if we identified receiver, corner, and I'll throw in edge rush as well, and said these are probably the 3 biggest areas of need for the Ravens, who are the players that you would say, if they're there at 22, draft them? If they're gone, go ahead and move back, because everybody after that point is probably about the same.
I'd say probably either Will McDonald or Miles Murphy as your edge. They're 2 totally different types of guys, types of players, but I think Miles Murphy fits kind of what Ravens like. But so that's one consideration. And I did for a little bit in one of my mocks, I had Will McDonald there for the Ravens. So I think those 2 guys would be the edge type players, even though they're different types of edges. I would say at wide receiver, Zay Flowers is the guy that I mentioned who I'd have no problems drafting Zay Flowers. And then at cornerback, I've got no problem with Porter. I think Porter's a fit there scheme-wise. So I've got no problem with Porter in that spot. For me personally, Banks isn't as high on my board, but I just think Banks is going to be off the board by the time it gets to the Ravens. And if Porter were there, he's a guy I 100% would consider. And in order, I would probably make it Porter, McDonald, Porter, Zay Flowers, McDonald, and then Murphy. That's kind of how I would have it.
Very interesting. All right.
He's got to change Porter's last name to Phelps.
Right, yeah, and then everything will be
then we're good.
Right.
Then we're fine.
My God, it would be great news for us.
Right.
It would be great news for what we do if it was Joey Porter Jr. It would be.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it would be outstanding. Lance, obviously the NFL Draft is on NFL Network. What do you have coming up at NFL.com? What can we plug for you?
Well, I've got my draft track will be out. I'm up to like 460 draft prospects. So you'll be able to read my scouting report before the draft and also after the draft once the Ravens make their picks and find out what I think about those players' strengths, weaknesses, in some cases player comps. In some cases you'll have quotes from people in the league when I can get them to speak about a player anonymously. And then my write-up, who I think they're going to be when it's all said and done.
Lance Zierlein, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's Lance Zierlein, NFL.com, NFL Network, with us here on GCR.
What happens first, Lamar signs or Ohtani gives up a run?
It might be. It might very well be Lamar signing. It might very well be. I hear he's good, that Ohtani fella.
3 starts, 19 innings, 24 strikeouts. 2-0 record.
Well, But he's kind of meh as a hitter, though.
0.47 ERA. He did give up a run. Batting 12 for 40, 300.
Yeah.
3 homers.
Yeah.
23 total bases. 8 runs knocked in, although Mountcastle knocked in 9 last night. 8 walks. His OPS right now is 979.
You see who wandered into the top 10 of in odds for AL MVP this week?
I have to assume it's Adley
Adley Rutschman has wandered
Of
into the
course.
top 10 for AL MVP odds.
Better.
Expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels Heating, AC Plumbing, and Home Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. To the point, though, don't put a ticket in on Adley Rutschman. Shohei Ohtani is going to win MVP in the American League. You're wasting your time. I know he didn't win last year. It took somebody else hitting 1,000 home runs for him to not be MVP of the league. All right, let's do Would You Rather Wednesday. Would You Rather Wednesday is brought to you by Birdland Sports. Everybody who participates will be registered to win a T-shirt of their choice from birdlandsports.com. Would you rather, number one, speaking of the NFL draft, settle down. Would you rather the Ravens still use the 22nd pick on a wide receiver despite adding Odell Beckham, or they need to do something else with that pick at this point? For those of you that say, it's a wide receiver if they're the best player available, I'm not asking you for that. You've got to pick one or the other.
I guess I would preface this by saying I'm not convinced. I think there's as much of a chance that Beckham's traded before the deadline than there is that he's here next year. Because if they don't keep him next year, it's a massive hit on their
It's $10 million.
So I think that they signed him and said, all right, here's the deal. We don't really know if he's going to be any good. He hasn't played in 2 years. He hasn't been all that great. Even in the 4 years before that, he's been hurt. But here's what we'll do. We'll take a gamble on him. And if for some reason 5 games in, he's got 3 touchdowns and, 41 catches or something in, well, that'd be a lot, but 30 catches in 5 or 6 games.
It'd be remarkable.
Yeah, and he's got 3 touchdowns. Someone will take him off our hands at the deadline that needs a receiver, whereas whose receiver breaks their foot.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
I'm just saying.
You would still have dead cap space even if you trade him.
But they'll take him, and at least if nothing else, they'll just say we gave it a shot, moved him on, got something for him. That's all.
I'm really confused by the scenario you're painting, though. The scenario is he's working, like he's
sort of kind of working, but I don't know if he works on the field, but in the locker room he's a pain in the rear end. He's fussing in the media. I'm just saying, you take him, you've got him for a year. If he doesn't work out, you can get something for him. That's all. I think it's a good signing. Whether or not they overpaid for him or not, they got to fight that battle. But I think it's a good signing. And if he pans out, they got a good receiver.
I don't think there's a chance in hell that the team would have to stink. Like if the team is 4-8 or something like that. Well, it does. I agree with that. That's the only scenario where I could ever see.
Best we're going to be 6-2.
Wow. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's how you see this playing out. What does that have to do with the draft?
Oh, I don't know. What was the answer? Answer your question.
Drafting a wide receiver at 22, or you got to do something else.
I think you got to take something else.
Okay.
You sign these 2 dudes in the offseason to be your wide receivers.
Well, I'm not counting Nelson Aguilar.
Okay,
at all.
but they are.
Well, I don't.
Aren't.
If they are, I think it's a mistake.
Well, they have 3 receivers: Bateman, Aguilar, this guy, Duvernay,
right?
Proch.
Proch. You're still on Proch. That's still your guy.
Well, here's what you do know about him. What's our schedule? I don't even know.
They haven't announced it yet, Drake.
No, but
who are the opponents?
Yeah, who do we play?
Okay. Well, hang on a second. I just don't remember.
What's our thing next year?
They host the Lions, Rams, Seahawks, Texans, Colts, Dolphins.
Okay.
They travel to the 49ers, Cardinals, Jaguars, Titans, Chargers.
Gotcha. Okay. So let me just tell you real quick.
You're going to go ahead and do the record?
I'll pick the game.
All right,
No.
Would you just answer the damn question?
I'll pick the game where he's going to come back and haunt us.
Who?
Proch.
What do you mean come back and haunt you?
Seattle.
Oh, because they're going to cut him and then he's going to sign in
Seattle.
Seattle.
He's going to come here with Seattle.
Yeah.
And for sure do what Perryman did that year when he made that insane catch for the Browns.
I get it.
He's coming back here to haunt us.
Okay.
For the one that he didn't catch that fell right in his arms against the Bengals.
No question about that. No question about it.
So I'll say Proch is gone. But I don't want to take a wide receiver. I don't want to take a wide receiver. Have you seen us?
I hear
Have
you.
you seen our history taking wide receivers?
I hear you.
No thanks.
Griffin?
I mean, I say it every year, too. I'm like, we're done drafting receivers. We just can't do
we're
it.
done.
But
We go get him the way we just got him.
I mean,
Take him from somebody else.
You're trying to get rid of him in 3 weeks.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you just said that.
I'm saying that they have that at least by signing
I disagree. I don't think they have that luxury. I think
Sure
that would
you
be
do.
disastrous.
You get something for him at least.
If
you don't want him
but
around.
it still counts as dead cat. All right, we'll talk
I
about
mean,
this another.
in the spirit of the game, I don't know how to answer because
You have
at
to
this
answer
point-
the question.
At this point, I mean, I like the top 4 receivers except for Quentin Johnson now. All he needed to say was Rashad Perryman.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Oh, okay.
out.
Now you're out on him.
I'm completely out on Quentin Johnson now. So any of those other 3 or Banks or Porter, I like. As long as it's one of those 5 guys, I think I'll be happy. Otherwise, I'd want us to move back.
People are really. This one's been a real.
I'll
struggle.
go with the first option. Take a receiver because we always need him. We always need him.
I would still be inclined to take a receiver at this point as well.
Okay.
Number 2.
Good luck with that.
Would you rather, after his
I'll tell you
massive night?
exactly what's
I
gonna
understand.
happen.
After his massive night, the Orioles celebrate today by announcing a 6-year, $90 million extension for Ryan Mountcastle. Or would you rather wait and see a full season of on-base consistency before they do something
Are
like
you
that?
insane? Who asks that? You wait.
Okay, and you let him get within
Do you
2
remember
years
Jake
of free
Fox?
agency. I do remember. That was in spring training. That wasn't an actual baseball
He
game.
had like 13 home runs.
in spring training.
And then he had 4.
You keep trying to compare
No.
spring training to
You
baseball.
wait on Ryan Mountcastle.
Okay,
He has proven nothing.
Griffin. Oh yeah, Griffin's all. He loves the guy. I don't. He's
Sign him. I
you're
don't
all
care.
in.
Come on, it's not my money. Sign him.
I'm in a weird
I want him
place
here.
because that's the other part of me too. Is it like what does it actually hurt? And the problem is, Drew would say, well, the last time they spent money on somebody when it didn't work out, they refused to ever spend money again.
It's only $90 million.
And that's the so I'm struggling with those two things. If somebody said to me, it's your job, you have to make the call, I'd probably be inclined to agree with Drew, right? Like, let me wait this thing out a little bit longer. I'm not going to overreact to a hot start to the season. This is still a guy who's like a career 300 on base guy. I'm not, I'm not ready yet. But at the same time, it's $15 million a year. It shouldn't be what dooms you. It shouldn't be what wrecks you. You should be able to give away a bad $90 million contract. It would make your fan base believe that you're willing to do these things and that you're going to start spending money and investing and keeping the club together. So I think the value of that maybe outweighs the risk. Also, if he's got more, the freaking Grand Slam is the most ridiculous ball I think I've ever seen hit. The audacity. They're like, we're going to move the wall back, 30 feet. And Ryan Mountcastle's like, go ahead, move it back 30 feet more. See how things play out.
Like, worst case scenario, I mean, I guess it could end up not great, but like.
Well, the problem is it ends up not great, and that's the move the Orioles made. That's the one.
Yes.
That's the one that they were willing to do. And then after that, they say, see, this is why we don't do this. This is why we're not going to spend money on guys, is because of what happened with Ryan Mountcastle, which is exactly what occurred with Chris Davis. This one, by the way, the first one, the bad answers have been so bad I won't even respond to them. The second one, this one has been more extend Mountcastle than anything else. Again, I think the theory being it's not your money, so, who cares? Did you see how much it's going to cost you to have an NFL Sunday ticket this season?
I did. Went up by 100.
If you want it, you better plan on getting it before June. $349 if you're not a YouTube TV subscriber and you get it before June. If you're not a YouTube TV subscriber and you wait till after June, $449 for NFL Sunday ticket for the season.
You knew this is where this was going. Anyone that didn't know this,
well,
is
I mean,
where
they
it's
paid
going.
billions of dollars, so they're gonna do everything to recoup their money.
And I hope it's in our lifetime, although I hope it isn't, but I do hope it is because I hope I'm around long enough, that there will come a day when all the games are going to cost you money to watch. Who are you kidding?
Well, they kind of already cost you money to watch. Like
you're paying for cable TV.
Right, you're suggesting there's a...
I'm suggesting there will be some sort of per game, per team, per network fee.
So
it's coming.
Well, but I think television is going to exist that way soon. I mean, cable TV is going to be dead within a decade. There won't be. I mean, it might still exist and is a bastion, right?
But it'll be just what it is now.
But
it'll be these startup, pop-up media entities,
Right.
Netflix, Hulu,
Correct.
Pandora, whatever.
And the question is, does the NFL, continue to partner with Paramount and Peacock and all of those people in order to or do they just simply say, no, we're taking it all in-house? Like, the only way to have the NFL – I've said this about baseball before. That's going to happen. But the thing that the MLS is doing this season is going to happen in baseball at some point. At some point, what the Bally Sports thing might be what allows it to move forward quicker. They're going to look around and say, well, we can still let you sell local advertising dollars. That's the biggest difference right now with the MLS broadcast is it's a national broadcast, and the Yankees will never go for that. The Yankees will say, we need to be more valuable than the other teams. We are more valuable because our market's bigger and because we get to sell
America's
more.
Team.
Right, there's that too. Thank you. Nailed it. They are America's team. So they'll never allow for them to be nothing but net.
Everybody wants to grow up. Everybody grows up wants to be a Yankee.
That's a great point. That's what Mark Teixeira said.
Wants to be a Yankee. That's what Rutschman's going to say.
That's what Mark, don't do that. Don't do that. The point is,
he's going to Boston.
Would you rather?
You know that.
I'm really glad we get together and do this.
You know he's going to Boston.
I'm really glad.
Ever since Carlton Fisk.
How do you think this one?
You know, I was a huge Jason Varitek fan.
Right,
I can just hear him now.
Yeah. How do you think this one's going today? How do you think?
Awesome.
How do you think this has been one of our better
awesome.
performances?
Like the rest of them?
Yeah, like the rest of them.
Awesome.
I don't disagree with that part. So would you rather have a full season of NFL Sunday Ticket at $349 today, or for essentially the same price, 2 tickets to one Ravens game sitting in the midfield of the upper deck?
I'll pay. I'll pay for all the games. I can sit home and watch it. I don't care about going, but it is an enormous amount of money.
That's sort of what I'm trying to say here.
I mean, it's an enormous amount of money for. Again, I wouldn't right now. I'm not shelling out $400.
I'm telling you, you have to spend.
I'm not their market.
You have to spend $350. I'm forcing you to spend $350 one way or the other. Either you get Sunday Ticket for the season, or you get 2 tickets to one game.
Sunday Ticket.
That's okay. Thank you.
Sure,
Griffin. I think people are struggling with this one too. It's not all that hard. You have to spend the $350.
So I have YouTube TV. And it was like a $10.
Pretend like you don't. You
all I want is Red Zone.
Stop it. You have to spend.
What's YouTube TV?
You're trying to do.
What's that cost?
Please alert Ryan Frazier right now to what you're trying to do. I don't care about your life.
Right.
You have to spend $300.
No, we don't care.
No one cares. $350 on Red Zone. On Sunday Ticket. Now you got me all screwed up. Sunday Ticket for the season, or on 2 tickets to one football game.
Man, I guess I'll go to the football game.
Why?
Because I like going to games, and
I guess
it's gonna be $350 flat rate for any game. I'll pick the Sunday night game, whatever. And
well, I think those ones they might charge more of
you said
a
it's
premium.
$350, right?
I know. I did say that. I said roughly the same price as what I said. I think they do try to charge more of a premium for the old Sunday night games because they know they can get it from you, and they decided to do their own dynamic pricing because that's what a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Yeah, everybody's up in arms about it, but like
it's
if you care about football and like I'm good.
Yeah, I mean
I'll watch the games that I'll watch the Cowboys. That's the way it'll.
They're America's team.
That's a great point, and they know that because the game that you're going to get at 4:00 every week is going to be the Cowboys game.
You see their helmets?
Thank you. Anything else? That's why we bring them in.
I'm just trying to bring this thing all the way to the finish line.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you grinding it out with us. Appreciate you. I'll take it. I'll just deal with it. And I'll bitch about it. I'll complain about it afterwards.
Of course, that's
right.
part of the fun.
Yes, exactly right. Like that's what we do
just
here.
Cough up the money when we can complain.
We bitch about the fact that I say, oh, good, it's another Sunday 4:00 where my viewing option is Cowboys Jets. Exactly. Although this year, I guess with Aaron Rodgers, that probably
Are they getting him or not?
They're gonna get him.
So you're going to a game, Glenn?
No, I'm gonna in this scenario choose the ticket because I have to spend it, but I'm not actually going to spend it, and I'm not going to go to a game, and I'm gonna bitch about what the game is they're offering me in the 4:00 window each week. That's the way this is going to go. Oh, great, Cowboys Falcons, exactly the game I wanted to watch when. Jaguars Chargers is going on at the same time. Like that's definitely the game that I wanted to watch this week was Cowboys Panthers. That's totally the game.
Bryce Young.
Thank you. That's a great point. Bryce Young will be there. That is a thing. What is your take on before Marc Ross is going to join us here in a minute? What is he? 11:40? Do we need to take a break now?
It's 11:40. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts at all about the Orioles celebration? Do you have any thought? Do you care at all?
Zero.
About that?
Couldn't care less.
Okay.
I mean, couldn't care less. Just keep hitting home runs and keep drinking out of that thing or doing whatever you're doing with it. Who cares?
Okay.
I mean, people are, I can't imagine anyone's making a big deal of it.
I think if they had,
you think if it gets into the summer and they're doing a lot,
no, I said, yeah, I did a whole thing about it yesterday. I said, I think if they had it, no, not that.
Okay.
I think if they had this dong bong thing that people were going with on Twitter, I think if that continued to grow and that continued to be a thing,
the team would squelch it.
That's exactly what I think if that had continued, then at some point the team would have had no choice to step in and say, guys, we got to nix this. So I said yesterday, if you like it, don't do that. Don't call it that. If you like it, if you think it's fun, if you want to see the guys keep doing it, stop using that phrase. Stop using it. Be in on it. Call it something else. We all know what it is. We're all aware of it. But if that phrase doesn't exist, then no one can ever say, well, it's a problem that the Orioles are doing a bong, because the Orioles would say, no, we're not. No such thing exists. Where are you getting that from? They can't complain about something that doesn't exist. But if it does, and you keep calling it that,
right.
you
I agree with that.
Sell your T-shirts and stuff then it's going to cause problems at some point. So that was sort of the point that I made. I think it's fun. I think I enjoy it. I love the sprinkler bit. I love that.
Yeah, that was funny.
That's 10.5.
That
I'm all
was
in
funny.
on the sprinkler bit.
I agree with that.
All right. Marc Ross, former Giants executive. He knows a thing or two.
I think they need to do keg stands on home plate after hitting home runs.
Stop it. You're 12. I'm sorry. Your opinion is not. You're not opposed to it?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to get away with that one, unfortunately. We'll talk more Odell Beckham next.
Not a bad idea.
Drew Forrester's here, Glenn Clark Radio.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age, and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Hartford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The National Championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. What do you do if Grayson Rodriguez struggles on Sunday?
I guess you got to ship him back down there, get him to fine-tune a few things, bring him back up. Like, we said this before. The whole idea of bringing him up is see what he has, see what he needs to work on, see if he can get through the lineup the second or third time. He wasn't terrible in Texas. He was actually
after the first inning. He was really good.
Obviously, last night not great. But again, give him another start. See what happens. Give him something to work on if you do send him down. Tell him you'll bring him back up in the end of May. I wouldn't panic about it. But then again, if the Orioles said he's going to make 10 starts up here by hook or by crook, and by the end of May we'll make a decision, I'd probably be okay with that too. I mean,
I do lean a little bit more towards let him try to work it out here.
Sure.
Like, don't just bail on it immediately. Let him attempt to work it out.
Unless they told him from Jump Street,
right,
hey, by the way, you're only going to be up there for 3 or 4 starts.
Yeah.
We're going to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I don't think they did that. But if they did, you would then understand why they would make a move.
Okay. All right. We will see how that plays out.
Overrated.
Oh, yeah, that's where we're going. That's where we're going already. You're going to go ahead and do
It's pretty
that.
obvious.
Jesus. Look, Ravens, of course, brought in Odell Beckham Jr. this week. Our next guest knows a thing or two about Odell Beckham Jr. from his time in the front office with the New York Giants. He is now an analyst for the NFL Network.
New York Football Giants.
Thank you. That's a great point. We don't want to get them confused with the baseball team that doesn't exist and hasn't
New
for
York
some time.
Football Giants.
Thank you,
I'm
Drew.
just here to help you.
God, I don't know why we don't do this more frequently.
I don't either.
Marc Ross is with us now here on GCR. Mark, it's Glenn and Drew. It's great to catch up with you as always. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Oh, my pleasure, yes. And always got to get the football Giants in there for sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Really, very important.
Thank you.
Very
It's
important.
a source of pride there in New York. Always got to be.
No
Keep it old
question.
school. Football Giants,
I love
for
it.
sure.
Mark, before we get to Odell Beckham, the football player, from what you knew of him, the person, the teammate, he is obviously kind of a pop culture figure. I think there would be people that might describe him as an enigma. What exactly are the Ravens getting in the person, the teammate, the figure in the locker room in Odell Beckham Jr.?
Well, the teammates are going to love him, first of all. I mean, that's the perception from the outside, and what the reality of the inside is the guy always was a great teammate and always was sort of beloved in that respect. And he is going to work. You know, the guy is maniacal about working out and perfecting his craft. So those are definitely the things you're going to get. Now, the outside perceptions of him and being in the media and stuff he does, you're going to have to live with that, and that's just what surrounds him. And so, but I think Baltimore has the structure and the coaching staff and everybody to sort of handle that, and he's not as out there, I guess, as he was in his peak. You know, he's kind of a different role, older guy now, and not as big of a star, but yeah, just as far as a player and a teammate and a worker, you know, he's top notch with all that.
Is it a case where if you're Eric DaCosta, or if you flip the script and it was you now when he's 30 with on his 4th team, do you have to have that conversation with him over dinner or a cup of coffee at the facility when it's just the two of you of like, hey, let's be honest here. You know, we're expecting you to kind of toe the line a little bit, and we understand you know, you're a free spirit. We get it, but let's just make sure this gets off to a good start. Do you have to have that conversation with him?
Yeah, I think with any free agent you bring in, any draft pick, really, anyone you're bringing in, you always sort of have conversations and talking about whatever your tone is there, your coaching staff expectations, the team expectations. So, you know, I don't think you do anything special for him. I think anyone you sort of bring in there, and you know, the Ravens have had some guys there now. It's not as if you get just dudes that have been just in the closet, just chilling out, not saying anything. You guys had some strong personalities that have come through that place. So I don't think it'll be anything new or anything unexpected with Odell as far as just the lineage of brash, big personalities that have come through that team.
Let me follow up on this. You're Eric DaCosta. Is this a move, knowing Odell Beckham the way that you have known him, being around him in New York, knowing where the Ravens are, knowing you clearly had to overpay in order to do it, would you have made this move if you were Eric DeCosta?
You know, in training camp, the last training camp I was on air, I actually said this would be a really good fit for them to bring him in. But, you know, right now, I think, you know, if you bring some more pieces in there, draft a guy, maybe bring someone else. I don't think at this point in his career you want Odell to be your number one guy. I don't think he's capable of that right now. Now, can he be a spot player specialist as we saw him last with the Rams, with Kupp was there, they had other guys, and hey, man, just go make 2 huge plays a game. I think right now that's where he is. Now, I don't know where he's going to be coming off that second ACL. But I don't think for the Ravens this moves – it's just not a great fit for me, I don't think, where he has to be the number one guy and you're counting on him to be the number one guy because there's so many unknowns with him with the age and the injuries. So I like it in a vacuum if it wasn't a huge salary and he could just be a part of what's going on there. But if you're expecting him to come in there and say, hey, man, you go save our passing game, you got to be our number one receiver, and we're going to feed you 10 times a game, I don't think he's that guy anymore.
Well, and you're also kind of presupposing that he can handle that concept, right? Like that he knows, hey, I'm 30, I'm coming off of another knee injury. I haven't really been all that productive in the last 4 years other than he had a nice little 2 months in L.A., like you're hoping he understands that too, right?
Well, yeah, but I don't think he's thinking like that. And that guy, the way he's wired, he's thinking, right, yeah, I'm going to get back to being a dominant player in the league. I don't think any player – I haven't been around any great player, even towards the end, where they didn't think they still weren't as great as they were in their prime. They always thought that they could get back to that or were still that dude. I mean, I know guys have been retired 10 years and think, hey, man, I'm going to go out there and still go crush it. That's just the nature and the wiring of superstar players. And so with Odell, I think 100% he thinks, yeah, I'm going to be that guy again. And you want that. You don't want a guy coming in here saying, hey, man, I'm just going to be a bum up in here and just come help out. I think he really thinks he's going to be that guy. But I think it's more that expectation, too, now where he knows he can play a role. And he's done that, hey, I can go play a role if I'm not that guy. And that's sort of the difference of Odell from 6 years ago and a 30-year-old guy coming off 2 knees.
Marc Ross, NFL Network, with us here on GCR. NFL Network is going to be providing live coverage of the 2023 NFL Draft from Kansas City, April 27th through the 29th. Mark, with that in mind, it sounds like what you're saying is, hey, you can't think that you're done, right? Like, you still need to – you might still want to think about wide receiver at number 22 in the draft at this point. It sounds like you're saying you can't believe that a wide receiver room you have made simply by adding Odell Beckham.
Exactly. When I still look at the Ravens receiver group there, you got Odell, you brought Aguilar in there. I mean, you know, Bateman, has he really done what you wanted to do? Devin, it's just it's still not a mix where you're looking at that group and saying, yep, we're afraid of those guys, or these guys can go out there and consistently make plays. And so, yeah, if 22, if there's another guy there, I would just keep adding to the group because as of right now, it's just not a scary group. And, you know, it's sort of odd with the Ravens and you guys have seen it, for as great as they've drafted in all other positions, it's just sort of an odd enigma of how they just can't get the receiver position right, whether it's via drafting or bringing in older veterans.
No, we've never noticed. Yeah, what are you trying to say, Mark? We call this wide receiver town around here in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre, really.
Hey, Mark, we're trying to get him to do a 30 for 30 on it. We're trying to get ESPN.
That would be fascinating.
Yeah, to just do a 30 for 30.
How in the hell has this happened with this position over the years? It makes no
30
sense.
years of no wide receivers.
It really is fascinating.
No doubt. So I guess the other thing, too, just looking at the whole picture for the Ravens is, you know, part of this is what are they going to get out of Bateman? What are they going to get out of Nelson Aguilar? And, you know, that's why even at 22, you probably still have to at least consider a wide receiver if he's there, or, if nothing else, a couple of more down the road. The problem is the Ravens don't have many picks.
Yeah, and that's definitely, as I said, definitely in 22. Yeah, I think you know what you're going to get out of Nelson Aguilar. It's not moving the needle. You might end up cutting that guy, you know, depending on what happens. And, you know, I think at this point you're just hoping with Bateman, but from what I've seen, I wasn't a huge Bateman guy coming out of college, but from what you've seen, you can kind of see what he is. I don't think there's going to be this gigantic leap out of him that he's going to be some superstar player. So, yeah, I think, yes, you just keep putting guys and filling guys in there, but you're really just hoping, and that's not a great strategy when you draft or sign or acquire players. Hope is not a great strategy. So as of right now, hoping on these dudes that are in that group, I just don't see a lot. So, yeah, let's just keep trying to help out that position.
And if you're the guy at 22 and the phone rings and it's 4:10, you go, I'm good. Don't answer. Do not answer that.
Not going to work. Maybe I hope that the time expires. Mark, we're in this weird position because we're talking a lot about Odell Beckham, but obviously the second question was, well, who's throwing him the football? Well, we believe that based on the fact they were out partying together in Miami, we believe that this is part of what gets Lamar Jackson to say, all right, I'm not going to hold out. I'm not going to, skip the entire season. I want to play with the guy. I'm going to show up and do it. I guess there's a twofold question there. One, what do you do if you're the Ravens? Because I can't fathom Lamar Jackson just says, okay, fine, I'll come play for $32 million. Like, it still seems to me like you're going to have to try to do something even to get him just to play for this year, right?
Yeah, and I talked about this the next day on air when I don't think, that's all great and good, and they're FaceTime and video and partying, and on a personal level, I think for Lamar and Odell, they're happy, but as a negotiation strategy, I don't think Lamar all of a sudden saying, oh, Odell's here, let me go sign everything. I'm good to go now. No, he's dug in on this thing for over a year plus, whatever it is. I'm losing track of the time now. So now all of a sudden, this is not going to change what he's doing. He's going to keep standing by what he believes he should get, and whatever that is. Maybe you guys know better than me or our insiders and stuff, but that's the big mystery of what's he want, and so I don't think the Odell signing changes it. I don't think bringing anybody in there changes it. It's all about Lamar and his negotiation strategy, and he's dug in on his beliefs and his principles, whatever that may be. So I think we could still see this going on for a while.
What he wants is, and I'm being serious, what he wants is a contract that the Players Association will be proud of, will be behind, will support. Even if Glenn might be right, even if he said to the Ravens, "If I'll play under that tag, but it's for $48 million, not $32," the NFLPA would approve that. They'd be good with that, and that's what he wants. He wants a deal that the NFLPA will rubber stamp, whatever that might be. Whether or not it's 1 year, 48, 3 years, 150, 6 years, 300. They're the controlling factor in this, I believe. I've thought that all along. I don't think he's doing anything without their approval.
Well, that's he has to have some guidance from somewhere, and that makes the most sense that they're the ones guiding him. And whether that's a good strategy or not remains to be seen. But up to this point, I've never seen it. It's really unprecedented of what's going on down there with him and the quality of player he is and his age. And you guys know the whole mix there. But it's really unprecedented, and it's unfortunate, really, for Ravens fans, for football fans, for Lamar, for everything as a whole. I've been saying it. Hey, Lamar, get help, man. It's okay. The pride is not your friend with this. It's okay to get some help throughout this situation and to get this thing resolved.
If he has to play for $32 million, we're going to do a GoFundMe.
How can somebody live that way?
Yeah,
no question.
No doubt.
No question. Mark, I'll pose it to you this way, though. If you were in the Ravens front office and you've done this, like this appears to be a very Lamar-driven move, and one more example of how focused you are on Lamar being the answer, but suddenly, either in the days leading up to the draft or after the draft, someone who thought they could get a quarterback but doesn't get a quarterback gets a little itchy and does put out and say, look, fine, man, we got to have a quarterback. We'll give you, a little bit more than we thought we would be willing to give you before. We're in desperate straits. Aaron Rodgers goes into the dark and decides to retire this time and isn't going to be a Jet. Whatever it is, are you now ruling out the possibility of trading him because you are you've continued to tie yourself so deeply to the will of Lamar, or are you still keeping it in play? Hey, until we've got a long-term deal done, I'm going to be willing to consider any move.
Yeah, I think for the well-being, and you always have to look out for the organization, and they should definitely be exploring all these guys in the draft and digging deep on who's available and these guys. And yes, if that comes to play, you have to consider that for sure. And this saga has been going on for this long, so now all of a sudden you just can't say, let's just keep going on with this. They know better than everyone what's going on in there, so they should be planning accordingly for all options and all possibilities of a situation like that happening or others. So, yes, you always are supposed to keep the organization at the front and foremost of what you do and as far as how you operate with acquiring talent and the future of your organization. So if that means, yes, we have to take this deal for Lamar, yes, of course, they want him to be around, but if that's just not a realistic situation and they know that, then yes, we have to move on.
And boy, they have really tied themselves to Lamar in the meantime with the moves that they have and have not made during the course of the offseason. Mark, I know obviously it's at Marc Ross on Twitter. What all can we plug for you, man?
Man, I guess I'm on, NFL Now, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Path to the Draft, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 6 to 7 at night, and be on all draft week, NFL Plus. So just a lot of draft coverage, obviously, talking about who's the best quarterback and the sleepers and all that kind of stuff. So just a lot of fun this whole month, just checking out the NFL Network.
Let me because I know you're involved with the XFL. One thing that you guys have done in the XFL this season that you say the NFL absolutely should adopt moving forward would be what?
Oh, well, definitely our extra point rules there. We can go for 3, 2, or 1. For sure, our onside kick where you can go for 4th and 15 from the 25. I think both of those rules that we have implemented are, real rule changes that make a lot of sense, that are fan friendly, but also team friendly as well, to say, hey, how do we maximize points, and not to eliminate kicks, but just go for a better option of what fans want to see, and it's more realistic for teams to attain.
Marc Ross, appreciate you taking the time for us this morning. Thanks so much for doing it.
My pleasure. Take care now.
Former Giants executive, NFL Network analyst Marc Ross with us here on GCR. Final days for this print issue of Press Box. It'll be gone, daddy gone by next week, so go get it right now. Gunnar Henderson is on the cover. Go pick it up for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. The only thing, and it's getting a lot of reaction on Twitter so far, I certainly don't think that the Ravens brought in Odell Beckham truly believing that he was – I can't believe they would do this. I know the money would suggest it, but I can't believe they would do this thinking that he is supposed to be Odell Beckham, that he's supposed to be, the third year of Odell Beckham. If they did that, that's an enormous blunder on the part of this front office. I have accepted that they overpaid to get him, but they overpaid to get him because their wide receiver room stunk. They were struggling to get anybody to come play here because everybody wanted to say, well, who's the quarterback going to be? This is a unique circumstance where, in Odell Beckham's mind, I'm only committed there for a year. So as long as I've got Lamar Jackson for a year, who the hell cares what happens after this point? It all becomes unique. Did they have to overpay to make sure that he didn't get on the plane and go to New York? Yes, they did. Do I love that? Not at all. I don't know who else they were going to spend money on. I certainly won't love it if it's $10 million in dead cap space the year following and Odell Beckham stinks. But I just can't fathom that in their minds. I refuse to believe this is like when Buck Showalter would get Jim Thome and really believed he was still Jim Thome. Of all of the great things that Buck Showalter did, one of his biggest faults was a player would show up at the end of their career and he would still treat them and revere them like they were Vladimir Guerrero. Like he would still act like he was that guy. I can't fathom the Ravens still think that way about Odell Beckham.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I would say they have to have put him through some paces somewhere to see that physically he's capable without seeing him play football. Meaning, they put him through all of the agility paces they could. You have to assume they did that. Right, they're not doing this blind.
Well, I mean, he did workouts.
Right,
I mean, he did,
and they put him through them, and they tested him and stressed him,
But there's a big difference between physically being capable of playing football and expecting someone to be able to revert back to a version of themselves that existed 5 to 7 years ago.
Yeah, he has not been really all that good for 4 or 5 years.
Now, we have to be fair about you brought up the Rams thing. He was really good with the Rams.
For a short period of time. Right.
Correct, but he was really good before he got hurt. And the opinion that exists from some is it wasn't that Odell Beckham was in the decline before that point. It's that he was in a pig F of a situation in Cleveland where no one could have succeeded, where you could have put Jerry Rice in the prime of his career couldn't have succeeded in that mess, that carousel of coaches, that disaster. Right, correct. And that it wouldn't have worked. Now, to be fair, he did have one good season in Cleveland with Todd Monken, and Todd Monken said,
that's the key to
I want another piece of that.
Right, that's the key to this, right? Clearly, this is a Monken-connected signing, which is fine. I mean, coaches believe, I say this all the time. I see golfers that, I think are good players, but I'm not so sure I would take them. And they go play really well for other teams and vice versa. I used to do it in soccer all the time. I liked certain players and other styles I didn't like. So Todd Monken sees something in him he likes. I get it. Time will tell.
I hope it works.
But it's the Ravens.
Yeah, you're saying it's not. Why do you say that? Signing veterans is the one thing that kind of has worked over the years.
That has worked.
By the way, not all of them, and not even close. That's the other thing that other people want to try to rewrite history on.
Mike Wallace, no good.
Yes, Michael Crabtree.
Sanders, no good.
Yeah, do the entire.
Crabtree, no good.
Frank Sanders had that one game though. Don't forget about it. Don't forget.
Jeremy Maclin, no good. I can keep going.
Frank Sanders against the Seahawks is one of the great performances.
Jeremy
in
Maclin,
history.
no good.
Yes, all of Deshaun Jackson, Des Bryant. We can do this.
Yeah, we'll keep going
eternally. The pretending
we're missing
like
4. T.J. Hushmanzada.
Oh yeah, Kelly Washington.
Dante
Stallworth.
We're still missing 4.
Oh, 100%. We could keep doing this list.
We're definitely still missing 4.
Absolutely could continue with it. Overwhelmingly, a few have hit. Derek Mason was still very much in the prime of his career.
A couple have hit.
Well, do you count Bolden because he was a trade?
Yeah, I count him. I mean, we got him. We got Bolden.
But they got Mason and Bolden indisputably in the primes of their careers. They were very much in the throes of the primes of their careers.
I always
when those
thought
guys
Mason was in the October of his career, but fair enough. But fair enough, right?
I mean, in 2006.
That's fine. Yeah.
I think Mason was still
I'm
clearly
not gonna
in the
argue with
prime
you
of
about
his
that.
career.
So we've had 2.
Smith and
Steve Smith. I forgot about him. I'm sorry. I forgot about him. Now, he was in the November of his career.
That's the better comparison.
Right.
Smith is the only one that was already clearly on the downside.
He was still better
of his
than
career.
any of the other guys we got.
I don't disagree with that.
He was still better than anybody
He's the
else.
only of the group of guys that were clearly on the downside of their career. Because, again, I separate Mason and Bolden and say those are the guys you should be trying to acquire. Right. The guys that are in the primes of their careers are the guys that you should be trying to get.
I still feel like we're missing 4. That it's 24 bad against 3 good.
Mason, by the way, when he arrived was, let me do the math quickly. He was 20. Was he 29 already? He was 74. Oh, my God. He was already 31.
Was he really?
Jesus. All right.
His 31 was
definitely a different.
Else's 27.
That's a great point. I definitely would have lost that bet. I would have thought that he was still in his late 20s.
4.
No, maybe I could. Maybe we do.
I think there's still 4 more that we tried to resurrect.
There's no question.
That when we pulled the rock back, they were still laying in the tube.
No.
I'm serious. There was at least 6. There's at least 16.
It's not risen at all.
He's
not remotely risen.
He's still here.
Yeah, he's still.
We did not resurrect his career. He's still here.
Bolden was 29 when they traded for him. Bolden was not quite 30. So I'd still say that statistically he was certainly in the prime of his career. But look, man, I'm still with you on all the same stuff. Do it. My expectations are not what your expectations are. My expectations are that he's here to hopefully be a complementary piece to a healthy Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, and hopefully someone else who either emerges or is drafted before then. That's my hope, is that's what he's here to be, and it's a costly price for that, but that's the price of doing business when you haven't been able to do anything at wide receiver.
I think his quality is. I don't want to say that he would have to tank it to not be good, because that's strong, because it's accusing him then of not trying. he's going to be fine. Now, is he going to be Odell Beckham 2014, 15, 16? No. But his quality suggests that you'll get something good out of him. That said, it's the Ravens.
Yep, that's a fact. You didn't. There's no chance you watched the L.A. Lakers game last night, correct?
I did not. I know they won.
It might have been the worst basketball I have ever seen in my entire life.
And the under hit by one.
I watched Mark Turgeon, and this might be the worst basketball I've ever seen.
You better be careful.
Ever seen it in my life. It was painful, but like that entertaining type of painful. That thing where you're like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I can't believe what I'm watching.
Just in case somebody actually hits a shot.
Correct. Right. It was that the Timberwolves, I think, went the entire last 7 minutes without hitting a field goal. In the NBA.
Right. Where is no defense.
In the NBA.
Where they encourage the players to not play defense.
Reggie Miller was like, it's very important. It's great for the Wolves that they're already in the bonus, and there was like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
And I think they attempted.
And then
the only free throws they attempted the rest of the way were the ones when Anthony Davis insanely fouled Mike Conley when Mike Conley couldn't even see the basket and was tossing up a 3 at the buzzer. It's the worst basketball game I've ever seen in my entire life. The NBA's king, man. And they got all of us to sit down and watch that garbage last night at 12:30 in the morning. All right, what else is going on in your world?
I got the 76ers winning it all.
Name 3 players for the 76ers.
Irving.
There you go. He was a good one. A hell of a player. You're not going to say Iverson, really?
I'm thinking Iverson.
He's still thinking.
Embiid?
There you go. Old league MVP. Joel Embiid.
Wingate's still there, right?
Oh, Wingate.
Yeah. Did
still last.
David Wingate have a cup of coffee with them?
I think he did.
All right. You guys have a good week.
What's going on? Oh, yeah. You're.
I got to go.
Okay. See ya. Goodbye.
No. You guys have a good week. And next Wednesday. Yeah, we'll reconvene next Wednesday.
Oh, good.
Let's talk more Ravens.
Good. It'll be. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I don't know how you do this.
Can't wait. I mean, for a day, we had Ken Francis on the other day.
It was actual
Ken
Francis?
Did you not know that? We had Ken Francis on Monday.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. That was something.
I like how I read one quote from somewhere. Maybe it was from you. But
I'm going to assume. I don't think he's done another interview.
Where he said, I didn't negotiate with any of those teams. I was calling them to sell them the home gym.
Okay. All right, we can talk about this. You keep saying this all you want. Way more likely to me that that's true than the other thing.
No
way. You're trying to create a scenario where it's more likely that the man believed he was Lamar Jackson's agent and was calling
believe it went
teams.
just like this.
Yes.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
Let me do this before we leave.
Griffin wanted to do this earlier.
You ready? You can.
Who am I going to be?
You just the GM of those Saints.
I don't even know who that is. Mickey Loomis? Is he still the GM?
I have no
of the
idea.
Saints? All right. Yeah, I think it's Mickey Loomis.
Yo, what's up, bro?
It certainly was. No, wait. Let me make sure I get this right.
It is Mickey Loomis.
Thank you. All right.
Yo, what's up, bro? It's KF here.
I'm sorry. Who is this?
Ken Francis.
Oh, Mr. Francis. What can I do for you?
So listen, I got this thing. I want you to hear me out now. Mm-hmm. I got this thing. We built this thing from scratch. It's called the home gym. Now listen up.
Now, what does this have to? What does that have to do with me?
Don't talk while I'm talking.
I think you already hung up, Glenn.
Don't talk while I'm talking.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what it is. So you put this. It's got a barbell. It's got weights with it. You put this. You guys know Lamar Jackson, don't you?
Yes, I'm familiar. What do you have to do with Lamar Jackson?
Well, he's a business partner of mine.
Okay. And
so what we're looking to do is, he's a free agent.
Right. What does this have to do with that?
Well, so what happens with this gym is I bring the gym. What I would do is I'd fly to New Orleans. And actually, if you guys are interested, because Lamar's a free agent, I'll bring the gym and Lamar to New Orleans.
Okay. So what you just said there, by the way,
I'll bring both of them.
I don't think is impossible, but I think, again, you're trying to portray.
I'll bring.
What you just said is exactly how I think this went. Right. I think he called teams trying to pitch them, however you feel about this suitcase gym, however you feel about it. We also learned, by the way, that he's also partners with Isaac Bruce. For whatever reason, these dudes think there's something there.
I don't know.
Whatever, fine. You can have your opinion about it. But that, to me, is about 1 billion times more likely than Ken Francis calling up Mickey Loomis and saying, "Hi, I'm Ken Francis. I'm Lamar Jackson's agent." And after the conversation, I'm completely convinced there's no chance that that's the way that it played
I would say that that's how it went.
I
that
think
it,
he
that
called
it was a dog
them,
and pony show, and he called him up and said, "I got this cool thing."
And I think
and
that
I'm business partners.
in
You
that
might have heard of Lamar Jackson.
Yes, in that conversation, somebody said, "Are you calling on behalf of Lamar Jackson?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm with Lamar Jackson." Which, again, there's only so many. I can't say this without sounding very mean. I don't. He didn't. All right, never mind. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go there.
I wouldn't do it either.
I'm not going to go
I think we all know, though, that is what happened. Like that he called and tried to pass himself off as someone that's involved in a business relationship with Lamar Jackson and who could potentially have influence on if you guys bought 12 of these.
Yeah.
If you just bought 12 of these gyms.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Maybe. But I do think
if you just buy 12
1,000% believe
selling encyclopedias.
I think it's more likely that he called about the gym
you remember
than not
how
about
much
the
plastic,
gym.
Plastic stuff Uncle Rico sold.
Right, that's a great point. In order to
look at this.
Yep.
This stuff you can't tear this up.
That's
look
a great
at me.
point.
Look how strong I am.
That's a great point.
This dude is totally Uncle Rico. Listen, I'm just telling you, if you buy 12 of these gyms from me.
Yeah, we throw in Lamar Jackson for free.
You know it.
I don't know that.
You know it.
All right. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Lamar will come by with the gyms.
Sunday
and set him up.
Sunday at noon. All your latest on the RBC Heritage. They give out a jacket there too, right? They give a,
what's it called?
Like
Tartran or something?
If you say so.
Yeah, isn't it Tartran?
I don't know. I'm not the RBC Heritage guy. You want your updates from South Carolina. Drew's got them for you. Why would we go anywhere? Tartan.
I know.
What is a tartan jack? I don't know.
It's a Scottish pattern.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go.
It's awful
there
looking.
It is awful looking.
Well, who needs a green jacket when you can win?
Bite your tongue.
Who needs a green jacket? You can get the tartan jacket for winning the RBC Heritage. It's Drew Forrester.
Be careful saying that these days.
You definitely do. I don't know. I don't know that we accomplished anything this morning. If I'm being totally honest with you, I'm not sure we got.
We did,
but it happened.
We talked to that Ken Ross guy. He was a nice guy.
Marc Ross.
Dude, you just know he called and said, "Just buy 12 of these from me to get my program off the ground."
I do believe that he did that.
You guys
I don't believe that he said, "I will deliver you Lamar Jackson."
And you guys gonna have Lamar.
I don't believe that part. I don't believe that.
Lamar
Although
really likes New Orleans.
It would be hilarious if it was. No
Lamar
question.
Really likes Minnesota. He's been there before, so he likes Minnesota a lot.
Been there before. He's been there before. It's Drew Forrester, for better or for worse. That was a thing that occurred today. Of all of the weeks that Drew has been here, this was by far the most recent. We don't have any more breaks to take. Let's do it then. Let's get a tidbit. We'll talk to Trey Wingo to wrap up today's show. Tidbit is brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers, where you can bet on baseball for the first time ever on your phone here in the state of Maryland. So why wouldn't you wander over to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and get the best offers and incentives so you can start winning today? Get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus match plus a $50 free bet with DraftKings. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to claim that incentive and more.
For the first time ever since they don't count the play-ins as like technically making the playoffs.
I did not realize that, by the way. I did not realize that you had to win the play. They didn't. This isn't like the NCAA tournament where
the first four
you got into the tournament. Like they don't count this. This is some other thing.
But since the Lakers did win that game last night,
let's not go ease up on win. They advanced is the way that I would call it. It's sort of like how in soccer, if he gets to PKs, you didn't win the match. It's a statement of people don't understand that. You advanced.
That's my next tip.
You didn't win. You didn't win the match. You advanced. I would go with that in describing what the Lakers did last night.
But so for the first time ever, every California team in the NBA is in the
playoffs.
Yeah,
that was. I did see that.
All
it's weird, but I guess the Kings and the Clippers kind of. Actually, I mean, until Steph Curry showed up, the Warriors were not much. They had that year they stunned the Mavericks in the first round with like Jason Richardson. I mean it's interesting, I guess.
The Bruins have set the NHL record for most points in a season. They have 133 as of last night, still counting, I guess. And they also have the win. They also set the wins record for most wins in a season with 62. I think that was on Sunday, so I guess they have 63 now. Or no, I think they're still at 62. Whatever. But people are upset because like the shootouts now like count as wins, and everyone's like,
so it shouldn't really. Okay, all right.
But either way, the Bruins are very good.
Do you really care? Do you really care? Not you. I'm just saying, like in general, people that are like, is it really worth getting that worked up about? Who cares?
The Rays, they have now hit 29 home runs.
I still feel like I would bet money on the Avalanche. I still feel like if you forced me to put money down on somebody to win the Cup, I would put it on Colorado.
Yeah, I think I would do the Oilers just because they're more fun. Connor McDavid.
Okay. Sure.
The Rays have hit 29 home runs this season.
Like the Avalanche don't have Nathan McKinnon and Cole
don't have Connor McDavid.
Thank you. You're right. Anything else?
The Rays have hit 29 home runs this season. Have only allowed
still undefeated.
20 runs total. So that is a +9 differential between home runs hit and runs allowed. That is the largest differential in MLB on any day ever in history, just at any point in the season, to have that large of a differential between home runs hit and runs allowed.
Well, when they do it against the Red Sox, I enjoy it, for the record. Like somebody would say, well, the Rays are more of a threat. I don't care. The Rays aren't a threat to me. If the Rays win, whatever. My life is – if the Red Sox win, I'm in hell. So I don't care.
Dating back to last season now, so Ohtani, again, had another incredible start last night. He now has 7 straight starts with at least 5 innings pitched and 3 or fewer hits allowed. 7 straight starts. That is the second longest streak in MLB history since the mound moved back to its current distance in 1893. The person with the longest streak, Jacob deGrom, did 8 straight.
I really wish you would have said it was tungsten arm O'Doyle. That would have been so amazing if you had said the guy with the longest streak of all time, tungsten arm O'Doyle.
Jacob deGrom did 8 straight back in 2021.
Well, it was only like 2 years ago, so it's not really all that impressive.
Yeah,
it's not. It sort of says like people can do it.
Yeah.
It's more like I just say for the sake of a tidbit.
He also has.
It feels like maybe you need to give something that gives it greater context than just it happened
since the mound
just
moved back
like a week ago. That
distance.
part I agree, but this most recent part, not really all that amazing when it just happened a year ago.
Well, Jacob deGrom pretty good too. So
I agree.
Solid company.
I agree.
Mountcastle had a great night. 9 RBI. We did talk about that.
Tied the record.
Yes. He also became the first Orioles player with a 3-run homer and a grand slam in the same game since this person did it back in 2006.
Miguel Tejada.
No. He was in the ballpark last night.
How am I supposed to know that?
Well, because he works with the Angels.
He works with the...
Or the Angels, the Athletics.
Is it Ramon Hernandez?
Ramon Hernandez.
I don't remember Ramon Hernandez having that type of night.
3-run homer and a grand
was
slam.
Tejada even with the Orioles in 06? He wasn't, now that I do that math. He came back. He was 04, then he came back in, 08? I don't remember.
Sure.
I don't remember exactly what it was.
He was an Oriole.
He was an Oriole twice, in fact.
And it was against Seattle in 2006. The Orioles like pouring it on the West Coast.
Yeah,
teams.
That's something.
Yes. So he is the third Oriole with 9 RBIs.
Do you know who the other 2 Orioles? I do. I know. Oh, is that your trivia?
Yeah. That was, well, and they were talking about it on the broadcast.
Yeah, it was Jim Gentile and Eddie Murray.
Mm-hmm, yes, and he's the 6th Oriole with 8 RBIs. So I wanted to see if you could name the other 3 guys who had 8 RBIs as Orioles.
Cal Ripken.
Cal Ripken is one of them.
Was it the night he went 6 for 6?
He only went 3 for 5 in this game. It was a 96 against Seattle.
How about that? It's got to be oh no, never mind. I was thinking Chris Hoyles.
Chris Hoyles,
is
one of them. Yes, in 1998.
Because he hit 2 grand slams, right?
It looks like he did. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the story. That's what I was blanking on. Yes, Chris Hoyles hit 2 grand slams. And then the other one is I don't remember, so I'm just going to be guessing now. Brady Anderson.
Not Brady
Raphael
Anderson.
Palmeiro.
Not Palmeiro.
Frank Robinson.
All
right.
In 1970.
He was almost as good as those other guys.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Did he have 2 grand slams too? I'm only looking at his stat line. He only went 2 for 4, but he had 8 RBIs.
Well,
and
he could have also had
sack
flies, or there's other ways to get RBI besides base hits. So I don't know. I mean, I thought Chris Hoyles was the only one. I don't know. Whatever. You can look it up. Tidbit was also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Tubular is brought to you by A.J. Michaels. Expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Home Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. Here's what's coming up tonight. Tubular, Dean Kramer, makes his third start of the season. He goes against something called a Ken Waldachuk, which I am to understand is a pitcher of some sort.
A little bit of a hype around him. He should be pretty good.
Is
not
okay.
tonight. He won't be good tonight. But,
all right. 6:30 tonight on
in the
Masson
future.
for Game 3
I'm
of
going
the 4-game set.
tonight.
Look, signing autographs or no?
If someone
Do you have
asks,
to
yeah,
pre-purchase your? Okay, will you provide the 8x10 glossies for everybody? How's that going to go?
No, they do have to. They have to,
You have to
bring those
provide
themselves.
your own.
If you bring a screenshot of the YouTube, and I'll sign those.
You'll sign. That's it. That's all you'll sign.
I'll sign. Well, whatever.
What if someone wants you to sign their boobs? What if you want to? What if my neighbor Jim wants to come and have you sign his boobs?
I'll use discretion, and
Well, you need to set the
whatever.
rules out now in order to.
I'll most likely sign just about anything.
All right. Okay.
Well,
so
I know.
what's
Again,
off the table?
discretion
What's
is-
off the table?
Just use your head. Discretion
No,
is-
no. You're the one saying you'll sign the autographs. What's off the table?
Let's see. Pictures of Yankees players.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right. Anything other than that? He's good with. You bring a dildo to the game tonight, Griffin will sign it.
Yeah, sure. Why
That's
not?
a fact. ESPN
That
Plus.
would be great. You should.
Mount St. Mary's lacrosse at home this afternoon against Canisius at 3 o'clock. The NBA play-in tournament continues tonight. Bulls Raptors at 7. Thunder Pelicans 9:30 on ESPN after the Heat and Lakers advanced last night. Masson 2, Nationals Angels at 4 o'clock. It's also on MLB Network and the rest of the country. MLB Network today. Padres Mets at 1. Marlins Phillies at 4 locally. Tigers Blue Jays at 7. Dodgers Giants at 10. TNT Stars Blues 7:30. Sharks Flames at 10. Some lacrosse right now on ESPNU. Marist and Siena. You always throw out all the records when those teams get together. And Utah against Lindenwood at 4 on Pac-12 Network. You also throw out the record when those teams get together. Champions League this afternoon on Paramount Plus. Chelsea, Real Madrid at 3. Napoli and AC Milan at 3. TBS tonight for AEW Dynamite at 8. Some non-sports highlights.
Just a few, just new episodes of stuff, really. Dave, The Mandalorian, new episode. It's the penultimate episode of season 3 for The Mandalorian, so they'll set up for next week. Renovations premieres on Disney Plus with Jeremy Renner.
Might miss that one.
New episode of Ted Lasso, of course, and Netflix will have a new documentary series called American Manhunt. It is about the Boston Marathon bombing and kind of hunting down those bombers.
They were doing something on Hulu about the murders that guy committed before.
Oh, really?
The bombing. So I don't know why it is that we're suddenly back in on the Boston Marathon bombing.
Is it because I guess what was it? Is this the anniversary? Today's not the anniversary, is it?
No, it might be
Or
actually.
this week, I guess.
It might be because it's a Patriots Day. It's always in April, so yeah, it probably is.
I was at that game. I was at the Boston, the Orioles were playing in Boston.
Yeah, the Red Sox.
Yeah,
yeah.
and we went with my aunt, and my aunt was loved. This was was that our first time in Boston? I guess I don't know, but we were having a really great weekend.
How
we were
old were you?
I was 13.
Wow.
No, 12. Yeah, and so she was like, "Do you guys want to stay through the weekend? We can go to the Monday game." And we were almost gonna stay, and and what if all that stuff would have happened while we were there?
This terrible tragedy is really about you.
Yeah, you're right. That is
okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for. I mean, it's interesting. I guess.
Yeah, but just.
I'm glad you weren't killed.
That was the
That's
night,
what I got for
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I'm glad you weren't. I'm glad you weren't.
Me too.
Horribly murdered. Jesus. Well, this is awkward. Trey Wingo. Everything else, GlennClarkRadio.com. What do you do from here exactly? Thanks today to Drew, I guess. Thanks to Marc Ross, Lance Zierlein. Thanks to Joey Fisher. He was great. And Trey Wingo, who you're about to hear from. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God. It's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program, Dave Odom is going to join us. He is the chairman. He runs the tournament in Asheville that Maryland basketball is going to play in next year. And, of course, he's the father of Ryan Odom, who's our friend. And I haven't seen Dave Odom since the day the new building opened at UMBC, where I spent some time with him. I really like Dave Odom. He's a good guy. Of course, was the coach of the Wake Forest team that came and played in Baltimore in the NCAA tournament with Tim Duncan and Randolph Childress all those years ago. So we'll catch up with Dave Odom. Leonard Ellerby is going to join us, of course, from the Mayweather camp. We'll talk to him about Gervonta Davis ahead of his fight next week against Ryan Garcia. Stuff and things on Thursday.
Yeah, we're going to try to make a stop at Bowie tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
And yeah,
stuff and things. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including A.J. Michaels, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Hartford Community College, Guilford Hall Brewery, Birdland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go Birds, Duke sucks. We wrap up today's show by catching up with our friend Trey Wingo. Do it a little bit earlier. He's out in Hawaii. It's crazy. He was willing to do something with us early. That's nuts. What a good guy. Trey Wingo right here on GCR. Well, it's a pleasure, as always, to be joined here on GCR by this man who I saw a really interesting video that he did for the 33rd team this week about Odell Beckham joining the Baltimore Ravens and expectations for what Odell can be. He is the great Trey Wingo, and he is back with us now here on GCR, live from Hawaii. I have no idea, Trey Wingo, why you would waste even 10 seconds of time out there with me, but I really appreciate it, man.
No, happy to do it. Always good to talk football, and always good to. I appreciate you, watching the work we do for the 33rd team, Pro Football Network, Caesar Sportsbook. So thanks for having me on.
It's always great to catch up with you, man. Do you really believe there's a chance that Odell Beckham could still be a top-of-the-line wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, look, when he got hurt in Super Bowl 56, he was the X factor in that game, and when he left, it changed everything. And Matthew Stafford basically had to, at that point, say, well, even if Cooper Kupp is doubled, I'm throwing it to him, because he was killing the Bengals in that game. The unfortunate thing for him is now this is 2 ACLs he's had to recover from. And, you know, that was in February of 2022. It's been over a year, almost a year and a half since he's played football. The ceiling is still extremely high. I think the big question for everybody in Baltimore is, what's our floor? Like, what's the bottom of where we think he can be? And clearly the Ravens, I mean, they I don't know anybody else was even close to the number they threw out there.
No.
You know, and I think there's some ancillary effects that go along with that, because it's pretty clear that the relationship between Lamar and the team is not great. You know, when he comes out there and says on March 2nd, I requested a trade, and the Ravens know how close Lamar and Odell are. You know, when he Odell posted that on Instagram that he was coming, he had his son in a Lamar Jackson jersey.
Right.
I think this is not just about getting a receiver, and in every measurable term, the best receiver in the Lamar Jackson era by a wide margin. It's also about mending fences.
It's terrifying to think that that's probably true, by the way. It's really not a great statement about where the Ravens have been. Trey, so
I mean, think about it this way. I mean, like, this is just the fact. In the history of the Ravens franchise, they've never had a wide receiver go to the Pro Bowl as a wide receiver.
Yep.
It's only been kick returners. So this is the first legitimate wide receiver. I mean, Steve Smith obviously was a legitimate wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, you know. And but this is the first guy that could be a game changer. You know, none of the other receivers have 1,000-yard season.
So,
and, you know, Odell has many.
I will admit, Trey, that I find it unlikely to believe he's still a true game changer at this point in his career. I hear your argument, and I was talking to DeMarco Farr the other day about what was it that made it click in L.A., because that does show up as a bit of a blip of, hey, maybe that really is who he is. But my point was more like, even if he's not, even if he's a marginalized version of Odell Beckham, to your point, what the hell else did you have?
Right.
What else was there? And if doing that also helps in pacifying Lamar Jackson, if he's playing on the tag this year, to show up, to be there before the season begins, maybe to put in a little bit of work during camp, to be, you know, gung-ho and ready to go for the year, all of that combined, did they overpay him? Hell yeah, they overpaid him. But was it worth it given where you were going to be? We are in complete agreement and lockstep about that.
Yeah, it's a disaster if it doesn't work.
Right.
Like, if this isn't the thing that mends the fences, because this is, as you know from covering the team, this is a very un-Raven-like move. This is not what they do. They do not go out and overspend on a veteran to try and appease somebody.
Yep.
That doesn't happen. I mean, they got rid of Hollywood Brown, right? They didn't bring him in. They were the ones that moved on from him. So this is a very, very counterintuitive move by Eric DeCosta and company, and it's a calculated gamble, and we'll see if it pays off.
He is, of course, Trey Wingo. I would encourage you, and we'll retweet the video from the 33rd team, and, of course, as you mentioned, Pro Football Network and Caesars. He's all over the place these days, and he is with us right now on GCR. Trey, I'm interested from a football standpoint in what this means about the direction of a Todd Monken offense, because I've talked to a lot of people about Todd Monken. In fact, Jameis Winston was just in town a couple weeks ago for the Ed Block Courage Awards. I was talking to him about it. And I always get that a Todd Monken offense meets what your talent is. That it's not Greg Roman. He's not going to force himself and his vision on what it is that you're doing. He's going to work around this group. And I wonder if going out and getting an Odell Beckham and combining that, who he obviously had a very successful season with in Cleveland, the last good season that Beckham had, and then you combine that with Lamar Jackson, if he's playing on the tag and wanting to put up bigger passing numbers, I do wonder if we can read in that maybe the Ravens are going to be moving more and more into not pass happy, not 50-plus times a game, but far more of an aerial attack than what we have been used to in recent seasons.
I think it's an indication that we're going to do more than just throw it to the tight ends.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the Ravens offense that's been built around Lamar successfully based on the skill set that they believed he possessed, it was let's give him a lot of tight ends, and every once in a while, let's see if we can throw it down the field for a big play. Like that was sort of it. What Odell does is give you everything else on the tree, on the passing tree, right? He gives you every other combination. And I'm glad you mentioned that about Monken, because to me, that's the essence of coaching. Coaching isn't, here's what I do this.
Mm-hmm.
The essence of coaching is, what do my players do best? And let's do something that suits their skill sets. I mean, that to me is the entire thing of coaching. You can have a system, but if you don't have the people to run it, who cares about the system? It sucks. It's not going to work. What you need to do is find the system that works to the players that you have. And I think that's the highest compliment you can give Monken or any coach, because it's not, here's what we're going to do. It's, okay, let me find out what you guys do best, and let me put you in positions to succeed.
So let me pose it to you this way, Trey. Let's say Lamar Jackson is happy, is willing to come out and play at a Lamar Jackson level this season. Let's add in a healthy Rashad Bateman. Let's add in, whatever a reasonable expectation is for Odell Beckham. Is all of that enough for the Ravens to be able to compete with Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, Josh Allen and the Bills, what is a murderer's row of offenses right now in the AFC?
Yeah, and hopefully a healthy J.K. Dobbins, right?
Yeah,
and that's
of course.
Part.
Yep,
the
a big part.
Game.
Yeah.
Now, okay, factoring all that in, let's also throw in what I firmly believe is going to happen, that Aaron Rodgers is going to be with the Jets.
No doubt.
So, now, I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen, if we just have the discussion that Lamar is going to play and Aaron Rodgers is going to be with the Jets, which is going to happen. Joe Douglas said it the other day. He's coming here.
Yep.
Okay, so figure it out, guys. You know what I mean? Like, we all know that. I don't know if I've ever seen a bigger disparity in top quarterbacks in one conference against the other.
Yeah.
Okay? So with Aaron now moving to the AFC, who are the top three quarterbacks in the NFC? I think you have to start with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And then is it Dak Prescott?
Right.
Is it Kirk Cousins? I mean, is it
Matt Stafford? If he's healthy, obviously.
Jared Goff? Yeah, but I mean, like, to your point, it's like it could be this guy, and it could be this guy. The AFC is freaking stacked, man. And to the point of your question, unless Andy Reid retires and Patrick Mahomes decides to take up the PGA Tour, I'm gonna always start with those guys.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
I mean, like, Patrick just threw for the most touchdown passes with receivers that you couldn't pick out of a lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he threw for the most passing yards, passing touchdowns, and set the record for the most single-season combined yards in NFL history. I get it. Travis Kelce's a Hall of Fame wide tight end. But as you know, in Baltimore, you can have great tight ends.
No
you
doubt.
Still need something else.
No doubt.
You need something else to make that offense go. So I don't know, quite frankly, if the addition of Odell shakes up the paradigm at all. Now, a healthier Lamar Jackson with Odell may a little bit, but me objectively, it still has to be the Chiefs 1, Burrow and the Bengals 2, if they can avoid not having to deal T. Higgins with the contract situation because they're going to have to pay Joe. And then is it Josh? Is it Aaron Rodgers with all the weapons that they have in New York? Is it Justin Herbert? Is it Tua with Tyreek and Waddle? Is it Lamar and Odell? I don't know. I mean, look, this is a move the Ravens were smart to make, even though I think they might have overpaid. But does it change the power paradigm? I'm not sure it does.
And that's where I am too. Now, give yourself a chance, and that's all you can ask for, and see what can happen. I wouldn't wave the white flag either. Trey, the other part of it is, as much as we think it probably helps to pacify Lamar Jackson for now, I still don't know that it gives us anything closer to a long-term resolution between the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. It probably prevents the doomsday scenario where they don't have a quarterback this season. They're trying to meander their way through a year with Tyler Huntley playing 17 games. No disrespect to Tyler.
That's Pro Bowler Tyler.
Thank you
Huntley.
for the reminder. Thank you for the reminder. And look, he was a magician in the Pro Bowl.
Right.
But I don't know that it gives me any more of a picture for what the end game is for all of this, because at some point, I don't know that Lamar Jackson is still going to say, well, I'll change my mind about what it is that I'm looking for. I don't know that the Ravens are going to change their mind about guaranteed contracts. I don't know that Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow or any of these other guys are going to go for guaranteed deals, and it still feels like maybe this answers things for now, but I still think there's a huge question about long term.
You are 100% right. Let's just be honest. If both sides were completely comfortable with each other, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. Now, obviously, a lot of this is this Deshaun Watson contract, and I think you cannot overstate how that is. And, Browns fans hate this, but blame all the Ravens issues, blame the Browns.
Right, correct.
Because of the contract they did. Yeah. But I do find it interesting that the Ravens were very, very comfortable in what they thought the market would be for Lamar with the tag they put on him. I find that interesting. And, you go back to just about a year ago. It was March 29th, I think, of 2022 at the NFL owners meetings. The first person to come out and say how bad the Deshaun Watson contract was for the NFL was Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti. The first guy. So, look, it's not something that you can prove, but it certainly seems to me that a lot of the things that people are saying about why they didn't go after Lamar makes no sense whatsoever.
Sure.
Whether it's Martin Mayhew in Washington or Arthur Blank in Atlanta saying, well, there's a variety of reasons, and get out of here. Okay. Just be honest with me.
Right.
I would have more respect for everybody if they said, look, here's the deal. We don't like the Deshaun Watson precedent, and we don't want to do the work for the Ravens and then have them come in and match it. If you had said that, I'm good with whatever you want to say about passing on Lamar Jackson. I understand that. But don't give me we're comfortable with our quarterbacks in Washington. No, you're not. Your quarterbacks stink in Washington, okay? Same thing in Atlanta.
Yes.
You hope Desmond Ridder is going to be good. You don't have a clue, okay? You don't know. So don't give me the injury thing. Joe Burrow's about to get paid. He missed a season. Injury didn't matter. Dak Prescott got the bag and has been less productive and capable than Lamar Jackson in his career. That didn't bother him from getting the bag. So all these things that are out there make no sense, okay? If you had said to me, I don't want to have my team do the deal, put the work together, and then the Ravens just go, okay, we'll match it. That I can accept. All the other stuff is garbage.
Is there any – look, we agree. You and I are simpatico about that. But if there is a team that suddenly starts doing the math ahead of the draft and realizes they're not getting their quarterback in the draft, or it's the Colts and they're not getting the one they wanted in the draft, if you're the Ravens and you've done this now with Odell Beckham, does it take off the table the idea of still considering a Lamar Jackson trade if someone starts getting itchy, if someone starts getting desperate and realizing they're not getting the guy that they wanted, and so they're willing to maybe pay a little bit more of a price? Do you feel like maybe they've kind of put themselves into a corner where you can't do that?
No. I mean, because then maybe they draft a quarterback, and Eric has said that, right? But then to your point, you're in a scenario for at least 1 year where you're either throwing a rookie in who's probably not going to be ready, or you're going back to last year's plan, which is, it's better because you have Odell, but quarterback is the most important position in team sports in this country. So you haven't resolved that. I think there's still a possibility that someone might, if they feel like they're not getting the guy they wanted on draft night, I'm sure they all have their packages ready for that scenario, and they say to Lamar, this is what we want to do, and we'll do a poison pill sort of situation and do the thing that the Ravens don't want to do. I certainly think that's a possibility. Now, clearly, the signing of Odell is an indication they don't want to do that. But again, it's not just something that the Ravens can control. It's something that other teams might control.
Yep. And if they put that offer on the table and it sort of looks at you and says, it'd be reckless for us to not do this and for us to – because they could be in this exact same situation a year from now. Like, that's the reality of all of this.
It's the Kirk Cousins thing just a few miles north.
Yep.
Right?
And
that's exactly what it is.
And let's be fair, a better quarterback, right? Like
without question.
Let's be fair about that too. More golf or surfing for you when you're in Hawaii, Trey Wingo?
More golf. I've surfed occasionally, but I'm about to go tee it up in a few hours and see if I can figure out how to get that drawback off the tee.
Let me make sure we go through all the plugs. What all can we plug for you, my friend?
Okay, obviously, Chief Trends Officer, Brand Ambassador for Caesar Sportsbook, Chief NFL Analyst for the Pro Football Network, contributing member of the 33rd Team, the Half Forgotten History Podcast, PGA Tour Live, and I got something that I can't announce yet, but next time I come on, I'll be happy to tell you about it. I'm really excited about that as well.
Dude, we will make sure that happens. Really always appreciate these conversations, man. You've been great to us over the years. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us on your trip.
You got it, man. Take care.